Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, the time today is Monday, May 11th, 2026. The time is now 5:11 in the evening. We are here at the Mesilla Town Hall in the boardroom for a work session. The work session is pertaining to our FY 26-27 preliminary budget review. So just we'll dive right in. All right. So we did have the work session and went through in the previous work session, going through the increases and suggested increases, pay in other positions being added in potentially. Pay for planning and zoning commissioners was brought up in there. We did have an increase that is for agreements and contracts, primarily for increases in insurance and the cost to the town overall in our agreements. One of the things that I did move in the overall budget is looking at making a move of 500,000 to our general fund from the reserves in specific, and adding them into specific investment accounts throughout so that we can earn interest on those. And I'll walk you through where those are at on the sheets. And then also adding in the potential in revenue from the county, and that correlates with the expenses for public safety positions being created by the county, which is still in the air with potential agreements. But I thought it included in the entire budget just so that we could review everything as a whole with everything put in as it was suggested, and then going from there. I did in the budget book that you have. So that's just the preliminary that we have here. I'll come back to that first page, but in here you have the first tab that we created in here is the overall budget summary, which is what is up in front of you right now in particular, and we can dive into the numbers in there. The second page is showing the revenues and going through, or the second tab, I should say, going through all the projected revenues. That's all that you see in the purple lines and what we anticipate there with projected increases. Then the third tab is our projected budgets, our projected expenses in what we have there from department to department. The tab after that is the personnel page that has all the breakdown of the entire team. And in this worksheet, we did leave it as the 6% increase in here. So because we talked about the potential of 5, 6, and 8 and what that looked like. So we left this one at 6. And we can always adjust that and take a look at it. The next tab on there is the suggested changes in the organizational chart, and doing those updates there. There again, from what we discussed in our previous work session, in doing these across the board. We can come back to all of these. I just want to go through each tab. The next tab is the positions to be potentially added through this budget cycle. Some of those, as we discussed, with funds that are coming through MOAs with the county, and then some that would be coming in through repositioning money in our own accounts, and then building capacity for long-term goals. And that's those 6 positions there. Then we have the next tab is moving into capital outlay, going through our current projects that are listed. I did break it down so that you have water specific projects, roads, parks, equipment, and then other miscellaneous projects. That's our current one. The next page is the 2027. What I did include in there is and you'll see them in the purple in specific, or the kind of pinkish purple. Those are new items to be added that are not presently in our in our current listing. So they would be listings that are added there in each year. So that's going from 27, which is our current year, to 28, 29, 30, 31, and 32. So as you see, we still have the potential to add in more into our capital outlay. And the one thing that I will say is that the capital outlay does not necessarily need to be done for the budget right now. But what does need to be done is a prioritization of the projects for next year. That way, if there is the potential that we need to have a match, we are allocating money and setting money aside for said match if that does come up. No, that's the part that does need to be done through the budget cycle. The next page or the next tab is the implementation matrix that came from our comprehensive plan update that we had there. And then the page after that is the listing of potential grant funds for us to receive grant funding. And these are all state or primarily state grant funds and the positions that we can look at projects overall in there. I'm sure there's a whole lot more that we can look at project-wise. All right, so going back to the first page in the preliminary. What we're anticipating, and this is kind of following through on the screen that's up in front of you as well right now. It's got a little thing. Beginning, so our first line that you see, this line F that's highlighted in here, beginning cash balance, that's that beginning cash that we anticipate to have at the end of the year. And the balances for each of those accounts. Thank you, sir. And so basically how our positioning and how we start the year. So we do anticipate and forecast that we will have that $4 million in the bank and having that to move forward. Then we do anticipate the next line that is on here is investments. These are our investment accounts that we have within the NMFA and with the state. And these are the ones that are the interest earning accounts. And that's where when I put in here to move money from the general fund itself, would be taking money from the fund that's just in the bank and putting it in these investment accounts that are earning interest. That way we have the ability to earn interest off the money that's sitting there in order to pull the interest so that we can pay for some of these projects. So that's where you see over on the side over here, on this one in line F under the transfers, where we would be doing a transfer from the general fund, keeping $200,000 in the general fund and putting it into the investments here within the general fund, going down, putting $100,000 into our town hall fund, putting $100,000 into the wastewater fund, and putting $100,000 into our solid waste fund. So those are our investment accounts that we have right now with the state. So it'd be including that. The one that is not listed here, it is listed on here, is our corrections fund. And I'm still currently in communications with DFA as well as the state auditor to see, because those funds are specifically designated, and how we can utilize those funds, where they can be transferred, how that needs to happen, or where that investment specifically goes and how that transfer happens, since we closed out our court on that side. So we're still working on the details for the corrections fund. But basically, what the request would be is to drop money into our from our general fund within our reserves to add into our investments so that we can do that. And we still can pull money from the investment accounts at any point in time. I do want to note that, but it's really just to try to gain interest so that we have interest money to revolve towards these projects.
I have a quick question.
Sure, shoot.
Well, it's not quick, but anyways, on the correction funds, I know we close our courts, but if we arrest someone, do we still have to pay for the person that's being held?
No,
We don't.
no. The county and the magistrate court has assumed all of that.
Okay. We're not gonna get billed from them or anything?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, ma'am.
All right.
I know that was one of the questions as we were going through the process and what would happen, but the county assumes all of that as long as it is entered as such for those cases to be heard within the magistrate court. So, which is every case that we have presently. We are working internally on the ordinance updates to have our local codes cases heard by a hearing examiner, as we had discussed here within the town, and still doing that side. So hopefully we'll have that potential code update to you here very soon. But that's specifically codes related and for everything that would be non-criminal.
So what are we gonna do with the ones that have untickets unpaid yet? Are we dismissing all those? or-
Everything's already, we closed all of those out. That was that process that we went through there and everything that the magistrate court was able to take on. They've taken those cases and that's already transferred over.
Okay.
There were, as of I think it was a month ago, I was talking with Ramona, or she had mentioned to me that there were still a few cases that were still pending, but the attorneys filed for the dismissals on that and worked with Ramona to get those cases dismissed.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Everything should be fully cleared out on that. That side, it's just that we still have funds that are here, and that's the one thing that I do want to note, because as you see in here as well in the general fund, as we look at line 9 here with municipal court, the municipal court overall had a budget, in there for 80,000 in personnel expenses, sorry. And then 18,000 almost in operating expenses. That total on that amount was just as we had that position that was created within the marshal's department or public safety department, marshal and fire. The personnel expenses were fully transferred into our law enforcement, and as were the expenses. So that transfer went across the board into those two departments in our preliminary.
What about our attorney fees? What budget are they gonna come out of now?
So attorneys' fees are still within the governing body as of right now, and that's the sheet on here. Because do we have it broken out on here? No, because these are not there. So on the second tab, when you go through in what we did, and it's so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the 6th-page in, it says 10 general fund, executive legislative at the top. So the attorney's fees we kept in there as such, and as of right now, as that budget. So you have our year-to-date actual and our year-to-date for the court. What we did is just reallocate some money into general matters from the court fees overall, because we still anticipate that when we do the hearing officer and how that works out, that we're still going to have some sort of fees that get paid to that hearing officer. And those are the unknowns as of right now on what that is. We do anticipate that it will be significantly less than what's there, depending upon how we write out that agreement for that. But that's why we left the legal fees for the court there, unless you all want to move that. That's up to you. The legal fees for general matters, we increased just a tad bit on there because we do anticipate on doing codes and ordinance updates throughout this next year and having legal review on all of that. So we want to make sure that we have funding in that general matters. And then general matters also covers any other issues, if you will, any tort claims or anything to that expense when we have the need legal representation.
Right. So our deputies should not be calling the attorneys, correct?
No. That makes sense?
Yeah.
And help out?
Yes.
Great.
But they are aware, right? The officers are aware not to be calling our attorneys anymore.
They should be, and I will double check with Ben on that.
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
What other questions right now? We do, or I guess let me walk through some of these others. Sorry, and then I'll take that. So, revenues are, or line H are our forecasted revenues and what we anticipate in that forecast that, like you saw on the front page, and then the transfers. Those would be any transfers that we would be pulling from the general fund in specific in order to cover any encumbrances or whatever the case may be on that. So we only anticipate that would be requested from an actual transfer in. Then we have our personnel expenses for what we have budgeted for this year. Our personnel expenses that we have with the 6% increase in there as it's been requested. You can see the difference between year to year between the two and what that looks like on the totals. Sorry, up at the top. And then we have our operating expenses overall that are budgeted in line M, line N. Our operating expenses anticipated in that, and then the differences in that in the overall operating budget, and then what the total expenses are. So our 12% that is a reserve required is over here at the end. And so that's where these balances at the end amounts come from. The one thing that I do want to point out that I think is extremely important as well is because I always look at trends and numbers as we look at the revenue and expense report that was added into that was in your packet that was provided by Gloria for that. When we look at our year-to-date numbers that are in here, total revenues are year-to-date at 2.2 million in that, where we do have a current budget of 2.4 million. So where we're sitting with that already, with 2 months left still in the month, and this is primarily looking at our revenue coming from GRT in specific. We're sitting quite a bit ahead on our revenues and our projected revenues from what we had budgeted before, which is a good stance on the town for our financial stability on that. And then on the expenditures, where we are already just have 2 months left in, which would put us at about our budget percentage of usage should be right around 75 to 80% on average. And we are at 69% of our budget usage compared to the revenues, which puts us at a good financial standpoint. And that's overall as we're looking at that revenue and expense report. So at the end of the year, we're on that first page where we do have our beginning balances and our starting balances. We can potentially anticipate some of those beginning cashes to be a little bit in a stronger standpoint. So we're being a little conservative on some of these numbers as we provide them, which we should be, because who knows what happens in the next couple of years or in the next couple of months for that.
On that second revenue page, why are we negative on where are we at? The community center and plaza rental. Current budget is 45,000, or year to date is 47,000.
Actually over.
Yeah, we're over.
But
Which page are you looking at? Sorry.
Second tab. Second tab under revenues,
Mm-hmm.
first page. 1, 2, 3, fourth paragraph. Charges for service.
Services.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are we over?
So
Miss-
year-to-date
just-
actual is 51,000. We're budgeted for 53. So this is year-to-date of what we anticipate. So we're basically $2,000 short with 2 months to go still in the year for rentals. So we should be hitting that number. And that's why in our charges for services, as we look at it in the future in FY 2027, that's why you see that 64,570, because that's what we're anticipating is to actually have an additional 10,000 in revenue through community programs next year. So that's not a negative. It's negative at the moment, but by the end of the year, that should be closeout positive.
She was just talking about the actual year to date is over the budget, which is a
Right.
good thing. But since it's in the negative and it's just a difference, it's not a negative.
Yeah, it's not
Right.
negative, it's a difference. We're over
Yeah,
the
so-
budget.
So it's over.
Yeah,
it's
in the-
over the year to date.
Yeah, that's what that is. So sorry, now I see what you're saying. So in the budget line in specific that's on here, if it's a negative, it's actually a surplus in it for the revenues in what we have
Mhm.
over our budget from what we had anticipated.
So we've collected 47,000 with the rentals.
Mhm.
Yes. Year to date so far,
Year to date. Okay.
and that will continue to grow.
We hope.
It's always anticipated. It's a forecasting thing, right? So
Yeah, we hope.
we did one of the things, as I have it highlighted on the sheet that's in front of you, is in our SRO fund specifically, because we do have our SROs and our agreements that we have with LCPS. Last year there was no change in the fund itself, or in the agreement, and so we have the amount that was given through the agreement and was agreed upon to pay for the 2 SRO officers. However, given overtime that was accumulated for them helping out with after-school events or outside of school events as well as the COLA that we did last year and the increase last year, that wasn't accounted for in the budget when we did that. So we actually have a little bit of a difference this year in the amount of what was supposed to be paid out, or what is being paid out to the officers that are helping out at the schools, and what we actually budgeted for them. Ben or the marshal did have extra personnel expenses that help cover that shortfall on that side for this year. But in planning, we want to look at that agreement and potentially see if we can negotiate the higher end of that agreement. I did have a meeting with some of the leadership from the schools this morning, as a matter of fact, just to kind of cover some of that. And they're receptive, but it does have to go through their board for approval as well. So we'll see what the superintendent moves forward with through their discussions, as well as the potential on that side.
It's unfair.
When we look at the projects, the one thing that I want to note as well is when we look at like projects that we have that we're anticipating, these are projects that we have that are funded right now in all of this, and moving that forward in here. So we do anticipate that the expenses for some of these projects, especially like, for example, we haven't taken into account that we have our Colonias applications in right now, and we have 2 Colonias applications in. We should know and hear about those by this upcoming Thursday if they get funded. If they do get funded, it's a $2 million revenue that we'll be receiving for those 2 applications that we have submitted with that. So with that in mind, it's not something that has been awarded already. So it's not within the revenues or the expenses because we don't know if we've received that funding or not just quite yet. So we hope that we will do that. But when we do receive, as I mentioned in one of the previous meetings, that's the reason why we do some of these bars in specific is because we're transferring in project money to make sure that those expenses are covered for those projects. So when we get to that point, we'll have those bars to be taken care of.
And doesn't Colonias require matching?
Colonias does require a portion of a match, and the portions. So on those specific applications, there is a 20% match for that. It can be matched. 10% is mandatory to be matched in a loan. The other 10% can be matched in other funding sources that also includes a potential loan. So the other funding sources can be money that is received through other grant funds, such as, we're working on water projects. So we would look at Water Trust Board or Clean Water Revolving Fund, one of those other funds to potentially add into that match for whatever that match amount is. So that we don't have to take a loan out on the full amount. And they're actually going through that whole side right now through NMFA, looking at determinations on the availability of excess funds, in particular in the enterprise account, and how our revenues versus our expenses in enterprise in specific will have the ability to pay for the Colonias funding in particular. So
Wow.
they're already doing that pre-vetted work to help to support all of our background.
Fantastic. That's a lot of money, potentially.
Questions? It's a lot of numbers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, overall, looking at the budget, I think you did make a lot of adjustments that in previous years I hadn't seen, where you're actually adjusting to actually year-to-date expenses more so than just projected maybe expenses, and moving those into and adjusting those numbers, which I prefer.
Yeah.
That we take year-to-date account. I mean, we look at year-to-date over time and base our budget on that, and potentially what we might spend in that category, and make a budget based on that, instead of just, to me, putting a number that we owe that we never meet. That frees up money to do things that we might need to do down the line, or pay expenses, unanticipated expenses like lawyer fees and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate that in this budget. I think it's a more realistic budget of where we really want to be. I mean, what our real expenses and our real revenues are.
Well, that's all the department heads. So the department heads are reviewing their budgets, and they all look at it, and you all are working with them as well, in meetings and have as a liaison and having that communication. But they're looking at their budgets daily and seeing what they have available. Where the numbers that you have are specifically here are numbers that they deem realistic, and saying this is what I need to operate my department. I don't need this much money as we budgeted in the past in uniform, but I can utilize it in gas.
Yes.
So let's keep the budget bottom line the same, but let's reallocate where that money is. So preemptively making to where we don't have to shift funds or do a bar or have any of those changes throughout. And we're still with some of these, we're still going through the process with all of this and cleaning it up and tightening it up just a little bit more, and moving a lot of the things that are in between all of the different funds and putting it under finance in the general fund, because if it's one bill that needs to be paid at the end of the day, one electric bill, we shouldn't necessarily be sending it out to everywhere to do that.
Or have it in their specific budgets.
Yeah,
Because
we
I
just
noticed you
budget
did
for
that
it.
on a couple of things, that it looks like it was moved from departments into the general fund area, finance.
Yes.
Okay, so that makes sense to me, because some of this stuff can't be split.
Well, and I think that in clear communication too is in the last conference for the infrastructure conference that was held this last November in Albuquerque. I went to a breakout session that was specifically and got my certification in the accounting side through that, and with that for municipal accounting. With that, there was questions about the general fund, enterprise fund, so on and so forth. And it was always thought in my mind that enterprise needed to stay completely separate from general fund. But that is good practice. But ultimately, at the end of the day, enterprise money can be utilized. It's still revenue, so it can be utilized anywhere. General fund money can be utilized
Right.
anywhere. So throughout the entire budget. So it doesn't have to be fully separated out. So that's where we started taking some of these things that, we know that we're gonna have, like cell phones, internet accounts that are team necessities, and moving them so that they're literally under the finance department, budgeted under the finance department, so they're paid out of that
Right.
and planned out of that as such.
I noticed that for wastewater, like you took all of it from utilities, telephone, print, and publish out of their budget into the general fund budget, which I think is more logical.
Where's their overtime spending? Am I missing it somewhere?
The marshal's department is the one that has the overtime budgeted in specific.
Does water fund have their overtime in there as well?
Yes.
Is it on that one? I couldn't find it.
And it's under. It's not on that one. It's in.
Did you find it?
It's there. I'm looking.
I was looking at it too. I don't.
Mhm.
And it's not in there.
Not on this one,
It's not on that one.
because this is only the expenses, the operating expenses. Yeah. So it is on the, as Gloria was just pointing out, it is on the salary line in specific. So if you were to go on,
The overtime?
yeah. So if you look look on your revenue and expense, it's in the packet in specific. If we go to,
20,
was I on it?
23. Mhm. There's 20.
Yeah, so if you go on here in this packet and you want to go to Fund 23 in specific,
Well, I was
So-
asking because wasn't some requested that they wanted more hours for overtime?
and we have that budgeted in here.
We're all over with this budget, aren't we? We have it in the book, we have it in our packet. What page is it on?
So if you, the pages aren't numbered specifically, but if you go to Fund 23 in the corner, it says Water Service Fund. And
Or
in the other page, it says page 3 at the top. But it has personnel expenses. And in there, this is just one example because each department has their own overtime allotment. And that stays within that because there's specific salaries that are being taken out of each individual department. So that are associated with that. So that's overtime that's allotted
so-
to that.
Right now, they're at 5,400 for overtime. Let's say the water fund. Didn't Lorenzo Credit request more?
Yes.
Where's that at?
It's in the overall budget for personnel expenses as we added that in. Correct?
Not a-
We didn't,
It was on the.
it was on the breakout of
on
what
the
they
breakout,
had on
but
here.
It wasn't added. I didn't give them a copy of the salary because it does have it on there. As, personnel expenses.
Okay. So that'll be something that we review and get back with you on
Okay.
for sure.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
know
not
the
just
marshals did
Lorenzo
too.
because
Yeah.
the marshals department was looking at
Yeah, the
that
marshals, even Ben had asked me about that too, so.
The marshal wanted to leave it at 60,000.
on that.
Did they?
All right. Look at that. The other, there's just in the overall budget and things to think about, so, if, and they're the premeditated what ifs, if you will, so in thinking that, let's take the fire department, for example, we anticipate that through the budget, we give stipends to the volunteers every year. We give one in the spring and one in the fall to them. One of them, as through the budget, we budget for one of the stipends to come from the general fund to specifically take from that. The second one we anticipate coming from actual fire funds and the grant agreement or grants that we receive through fire funds, if we do get that. But as we found out this year, the state ran out of funding, so we did not receive our allocation for our stipends in specific this year from the state. And we don't get those notifications really until mid-January, whether we get that funding or not. So that'll probably be a request in one of the upcoming meetings, is to look at potentially moving money to pay for the stipends for those volunteers, since we were not awarded that.
I wonder if we should just budget them.
And that's the other part too. Do we want to just budget fully for it, and then if it does, because that is one way of doing it for sure, is budget fully for that 100%, and then if it ends up happening, then it becomes a surplus that can just be added back into the general fund at the end of the year, as
If that's allowable, and if not, we have some for next year. But that makes more sense to me if we don't get it from, if we don't know till January.
Right.
And since we have, the money right now
Mhm.
in the general fund, seems like we have money in the general fund to do some things that we probably need to do.
Right. Well, and I think if we transfer accordingly, that we have the potential to earn interest to pay for a lot of things.
Yeah, for sure.
And
That's
I'm sorry,
exciting.
did you budget planning and zoning in there or no?
It is. So I put it in it as an added amount in here in specific under community development. So we're looking at what was suggested in there at being a potential of $100 per commissioner per meeting.
Okay.
Is what we were looking at.
Thank you for doing
And
that.
we would be treating that as a stipend
Okay,
in specific for them. That way it's not applicable to the specific payroll deductions that would come out of that.
yeah. And I think we agreed, right? They have to attend the meeting to get their $100.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it would only be, I mean, we would have to create the programming all around that, and
No,
then
thank you
probably,
for adding that on there because I was like,
and I think
stuck with a
that,
lot.
and after we finish and get the budget going, we'll start working on the revisions on the planning and zoning ordinance as well, as we had talked about at the beginning of the year, so that we can include that, and that way it's written into ordinance in addition to that. so that way it stays
Uh-huh.
for the long term.
Poor community and development. Poor Eddie over there. They keep taking his money. They keep taking money out of. We keep taking money out of your account.
Yeah. Well, and that's what one of the things, just in that note, in saying that, is that, you know, Eddie and I have also, and as we know, that's when we look at a lot of the departments overall, you know, we law enforcement, fire department, you know, those two in specific are not revenue generating departments, and
Right.
they should not be revenue generating department. Public Works is only revenue generating because it's associated with billing that's happening for services that are being provided.
Oh, that's-
So when we look at the community and economic development department, that department is specific a revenue generating department. So that's where we want to actually fill it in and have more potential for and creativity on how we can generate the revenue for the town in order to support all of the other programs.
And that was another thing that Ben and I were talking about too. And I know I reached out to you on this one too, besides more overtime for Public Works, was them being paid on-call. Did we add that to the budget or wasn't added on or?
That for the marshal's department, it was not.
No, I know
and
that he wasn't too worried about them being paid for on-call, but I know he was worried about Public Works should be getting paid for being on-call.
and that would be on in the overtime planning when we get that.
Will you get
Taken
that
care of.
overtime calling? Okay.
Yeah.
Will you give that to us? And so,
That we pay,
Yeah.
be paid something.
Yeah, on call.
yeah, they're not being called, they're not being paid as of right now on call. They're not.
And it's just regular salary.
It's regular salary.
Yeah, they should be, no, that's not right.
And
Mhm.
that's what Ben had stated up for Public Works, was like, it's not fair to them that they're on call and they're not getting paid for it.
Yeah, they
So
should
I
be
know he wanted me, right,
receiving.
correct.
And those are just oversights from from over the years, because it's always been like that. And those are changes that you are correct that we should be looking at and making those detailed changes
Yeah.
Definitely.
in overall.
Yeah, because his overtime's like 5,000 and they're just on call, you know.
Right.
They
You
need-
have
they need
somebody that's
rate-
on call all week long, and they should
Right, and their overtime hours, 1,000 is 1 month, maybe 2 months for them. I don't know how long
Right.
it's way more than that.
Well, that's only one fund. So it's water fund. So there's overtime allotment in water and all of the other and in the
Right.
solid waste. So, but we will definitely look at that and make those adjustments. Any other questions?
So
As of right
today, it's on the agenda for approval. We're approving what you gave us today with the missing items of the overtime call and stuff.
So, I mean, it is up once we get to that point in the agenda. The hope was to get approval of the preliminary overall, and just so that, because it does have to be entered and input into the system by the end of the month. But what we can do is an approval of the, or postponement, doesn't make a difference, of whatever you all want to do. But I just need a mechanism, like if we feel comfortable with some of the numbers overall in here, with the exception of some of these changes,
Mhm.
just so that Gloria can start inputting all of this into, because it has to be put into the state system, and that does take quite a bit of time. And it's good to try to be ahead of the curve on that. So it's either warm and fuzzies, if you will, with minor changes that we can get taken care of and bring it forward at the next meeting. Call a special meeting if we need to, if that's what you want. So that there's multiple things that can be done. So
Well, what are we looking at? Just the overtime, right? And on call? I mean, just the payroll?
And
Because,
the stipends.
well, they're
We
the,
need the stipends. We gotta add the stipends into it.
Well, it's
Did we
in the
come up with a
budget.
dollar amount for stipends? What's the dollar amount? So we were gonna add it on there, remember? You just said it, to add it on and then it'll be easy to take out.
Are we talking about P and Z? Those are the only
P and Z's already in here.
P&Z is already added on
P
the,
is
Firefighters.
the firefighter
Firefighter
stipends.
stipends.
We got to add that on there.
So
Oh,
that
oh,
would
yes,
be,
we gotta
so that's
add those.
adding, I mean, and that's straight across. It's 25,000 across the board.
Yeah.
We already allocate 25,000 in that, so it'd be an additional 25,000.
So
Right.
up to 50. I think we should approve it myself.
Well, we
to
can't,
put-
Can't
no
discuss that.
discussion on that right now.
I have
This
a
is
discussion
only
on that right now.
I know,
that when
but
we get to that meeting
just
agenda item.
saying, let's think about overall how soon it needs to be into the state.
Right. There will be options once we get to that.
Yeah. Plus, I
Well,
don't feel comfortable without having full numbers.
Right, in front of us.
it. Mhm.
Well, and I think that when we look at the overtime expense that's going to be added, as well as the on-call, that's the variable number that will change a little bit. I don't think it'll be super dramatic, but that's one of the variables that is the question.
Yep.
But that's a thing that once we get into that specific agenda item, we can discuss a little bit more as well with what you all would like to do. I'm great.
Mm-hmm.
Any other discussion right now? Before we finish up, and I just thought about it, one last discussion item, as far as it pertains to this year's budget over last year's budget and kind of from the last meeting, because when we were going through capital projects in specific and the thought of capital projects and planning for capital projects, when I was specifically asking about specific roads, specific water infrastructure, all of these different things, for you all to name these specific roads, you didn't necessarily want to, because you want to try to get the asset management and have a needs determination based upon asset management. So I am working with our engineer in specific, as well as the program. It's called iWorks, that does the asset management side, to give specific quotes on just doing roads and water infrastructure for now. And so if we can squeeze that out before the end of the year in this year's budget to make that happen. And what I will note is, with us having a little bit of a as of right now, looking like we're going to have a little bit of a surplus, there might be the potential of us actually making that happen, so that we have good solid planning for the future.
That would be really good.
Yeah.
Because
So I just-
that would put us on a schedule with the roads
Yeah, with
And
all
we need that.
infrastructure.
and all infrastructure, but roads are a big
'Cause we did-
deal.
Yeah, we did agree to do sewer, water, then road, right? 'Cause
Well,
it's a
we were going to be looking at, as we redo some of these roads, it was discussed that as we're evaluating some of them,
Or
if the
sewer,
water
yeah.
lines or sewer lines that are there need to be
Correct.
redone, at that same time, we'll look at
And
that.
and something like that, an asset, looking at that could be the charge, that we look at all of it, so that when we are thinking about doing that, we're doing it all.
Correct.
Right.
Well, and then that's where that asset management
Right.
program and the planning that comes from the engineers who already have access
You
to
have
some
an
of that
estimate?
information.
Thank you for,
What's up?
thank you for looking into that.
In on that?
I have a partial estimate. I don't have a full estimate. Otherwise, I'd be presenting that to you. But so the next meeting and be anticipating
All right.
something
So we
along
don't
those
have to look
lines.
at roads anymore? I got a list.
I mean, I think that looking at roads is something that we should be doing every single day. So
I have some, I'll send you a list.
yeah, please do send the list, because especially if you have roads that presently have potholes or major fixes that need to happen, because we'll figure out how to get those taken care of in the interim.
Okay, I have a list. I'll email them to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other discussion on this so far? Okay. With that,
you.
then, thank you very much. We will move into our next part. Do we need to take a short breather, or are we good moving right in?
Let's roll, Hunter.
Right in?
Okay.
Okay.
Everybody looks fine.
So we will. All right. All right. Thank you very much. Sorry. Thank you for your patience to everybody. Today is Monday, May 11, 2026. The time is now 6:01 in the evening. We are here at the Mesilla Town Hall for our regularly scheduled Board of Trustees meeting. The first item on the agenda is a Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll please stand with me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next order of business is roll call and determination of a quorum. Gloria, if you would please.
Mayor Hernandez.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson here. Present. Trustee Cardenas. Here. Trustee Garcia. Present. Trustee Nevares.
Present.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda as it has been presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor by trustee Nevada, seconded by trustee Garcia. Unless there's an objection or discussion, the motion will carry as it has been presented. The agenda has been approved and will be read as it has been presented. Next item on the agenda is presentations. We'll start off with item 5A, presentation for our Bike to School proclamation. I saw Ms. Curry here, so.
Good evening, Mayor Hernandez of the and trustees. And members of the public. I'm Ashley Curry. I'm the Safe Routes School Coordinator for Las Cruces Public Schools. Thank you for having us. And I'm here with George Pearson, who is also one of our team members. Unfortunately, I don't have any kiddos. We had a couple kiddos lined up for last time, but some change of events, we ended up not having kiddos today. But anyway, I just wanted to give you just a quick thank you and update. We did have National Bike to School Day. I know the proclamation is for National Bike to School Day. We did have that last week, Tuesday. We had a good turnout of kids. I think we had about 14, 16 kids come last week for Bike to School. It's great, but I just also wanted to take the opportunity to thank you for your continued improvements that you make to the community. This weekend, we did a little camping trip with kids at Mesilla Elementary, and we biked around both on Saturday afternoon and evening, and then spent the night on the playground at Mesilla and biked again on Sunday morning, and it was really lovely. Also, the kids from Mesilla Elementary biked down to the Bosque for a field trip, and it was just great to have a multi-use trail to use and feel safe on, and the kids really love it and appreciate it. And just in all the years of doing biking at Mesilla, it's just really nice to see the constant improvements. And not only do our roads feel safe because they're calm and they're beautiful, but now to have on the busier roads the multi-use trail. So I just wanted to say thank you so much. I always extend the invitation. We bike every Tuesday. We've got two-wheel Tuesdays left this year before school is out, and then we'll be right back on at the beginning of next year. So if you feel like hopping on your bike tomorrow morning, we meet at 7:20 at the plaza, and again next week. So we always welcome you to join our group. Tuesday. Thank you, George. Next Tuesday. So thank you so much. And I don't know if, Gloria, did you want to read the proclamation? Do you want to read it? Do you want me to read it?
I'll read it.
Oh, fantastic, Mayor Hernandez. All the best. Thank you.
As the proclamation reads, declaring May 5th as Bike to School Day, whereas the health and safety of our children is the highest concern to the citizens of New Mexico, and whereas making bicycle and pedestrian safety improvements a priority can help protect the life and safety of the town of Mesilla's youth, and whereas the town of Mesilla is working to add bike lanes, trails, sidewalks, and improve street crossings to better connect our provide safer routes to school, and whereas diabetes and other being able to walk or bicycle to school offers into daily routine, and whereas regularly walking and biking to school can be fun and increase students' readiness to learn and improve their state of mental health, and whereas An important role for parents and caregivers is to teach children about pedestrian safety and become aware of the difficulties and dangers that children face on their trip to school each day, and the health and environmental risks related to physical inactivity and air pollution. And whereas in May, community leaders, parents, and children from around the world will join together for Bike to School events to increase awareness about the health and environmental benefits of walking and biking to school. And whereas walking school buses, bike trains, and celebrations of National Bike to School Day have proven to be helpful in encouraging children to safely walk and bicycle to school, and in creating and promoting local safe routes to schools programs across the United States and throughout the world. Now therefore be resolved that I, Russell Hernandez, Mayor, Town of Mesilla, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, do hereby proclaim May 5th as Bike to School Day in the Town of Mesilla, and encourage all citizens of the Town of Mesilla to promote the safety and health of children this day and throughout the year by supporting pedestrian and bicycle improvements, modeling safe pedestrian and bicycle behaviors, and practicing an active lifestyle. Signed, sealed, and proclaimed on this day in April 27, 2026.
Thank you so much.
And I do want to say that I feel like I've seen you both a whole bunch the past couple of weeks, and I appreciate everything that you do for our community as a whole.
Likewise.
It's amazing. So thank you.
Likewise. Thank you so
I'm
much.
sorry that we did have to cancel that meeting, but
That's okay. We'll be back next year. You know where to find us. We'll be back in October for Walk to School. Thank you so much. Okay.
appreciate you. Next item on the agenda is a presentation by Ms. Amanda Bowen for All Hazards Emergency Operations Plan.
And I provided a presentation. I don't know if that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak, Mayor, trustees. As he said, my name is Amanda Bowen. I'm the emergency manager which also represents your jurisdiction. I'm here for two reasons. Number one, to give you an update that's long overdue of some of the activities over the last year that we've had. And additionally, to ask for your signature on our All Hazards Emergency Operations Plan. So I'll explain to you as we go through what that really looks like. The All Hazards Emergency Operations Plan is really the framework that governs how the county, the villages, towns, cities respond and manage disasters. That's really the focus of this plan. It's coming to you as policy and a governance document, not a tactics manual. It's not going to really say how a firefighter should put out a fire and a police officer should make an arrest. It's a little bit more disaster focused than that. My goal here is just to make sure that you fully understand what it does, what your role in it is, and why adoption matters both legally and financially. The emergency, and if you could, awesome, thank you. The All Hazards Emergency Operations Plan is a multi-jurisdictional coordination framework used for large-scale emergencies. It defines who's in charge of what, how agencies work together, how decisions are made, and when incidents exceed routine response. It applies to things like natural disasters like wildfire, flooding, technological incidents like hazmat situations, cyber incidents, and human-caused incidents like terrorism, active threats, those sort of things. It's fully aligned with FEMA, and I'm going to use a lot of acronyms. I apologize if it comes out of my mouth and you don't know, please stop me. But it aligns with FEMA, the National Incident Management System, which I'll refer to as NIMS, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and of course, New Mexico state law. Again, not a tactics manual, doesn't tell firefighters or police officers how to do their job, how to run a scene, tells the government systems how to coordinate and support those operations at a scale. So it can scale up or down. Next slide, please. Our prior, I think we're a little bit ahead of where I'm at. If we could go back to why the plan was required. Thank you. Our prior emergency operations plan dated back to 2011. We had some minor changes in 2019 and some fresh signatures applied to it, but really substantial changes didn't take place, but they were needed. A major revision is expected about every 3 to 5 years, and that we were way overdue for that. So the previous plan lacked some annexes that considered how nationwide standards. It also no longer reflected how our emergency operations center actually functions today, failed to meet federal preparedness standards, accessibility, reporting standards, that sort of thing. So updating the plan really for us was not optional. Without it, we risk being non-compliant, delaying disaster funds, grant funding, and having some fragmented responses. Next slide, please. Thank you. The updated process for this plan ran from May 2024 through June of 25. It produced the base plan, 10 functional annexes, and 10 hazard annexes, along with multiple operational support tools. It wasn't a desk exercise. It involved multi-agency planning meetings, operational reviews. We included folks like Public Works, first response agencies, citizens who contributed to several repeated drafts. And we're now approaching the final steps, which is adoption by stakeholders and full adjudication, both within all of our jurisdictions and at the state level once it's deemed compliant. Again, why I'm here. So next slide, please. The plan was evaluated against FEMA's Comprehensive Preparedness Guide 101 version 3. I know that's a real interesting piece of work I'm sure all of you have read already. It complies with NIMS and National Response Framework, meets ADA requirements for accessibility and functional needs populations. It was reviewed using New Mexico Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management's Crosswalk tool. And this matters because disaster funding and mutual aid are directly tied to compliance with these standards. So if you ever have to declare a disaster, this plan should give us the foothold to, as long as we're following the plan to the extent possible, should give you the ability to get those disaster funds. Next slide, please. The plan focuses on the hazards that most realistically affect our communities. We focused on wildfire, flooding, extreme heat and drought, hazardous materials along our major interstate corridors, pandemics, cybersecurity incidents, and high wind events. Every one of these has either occurred already here or is statistically expected to occur again. None of these are hypothetical situations. Next slide. The plan outlines the expectation that all incidents begin and end locally. We know that your first responders are out working constantly. If they need to scale up, this plan will then accommodate those pieces as an incident gets larger. So all incidents, we always come forward with that mentality. All incidents begin and end locally. First responders use the incident command system to manage tactical operations, and when incidents become more complex or exceed that routine capacity, the Emergency Operations Center is activated. The Emergency Operations Center, or the EOC, which is where I work, does not replace field command. It provides coordination, resource management, emergency purchasing, policy support, public information, state and federal liaison functions. State and federal support only engages with local government, requests it, and demonstrates that local capacity has been exceeded. So the feds aren't coming in unless you ask them to. Next slide, please. One of the most important functions of the emergency operations plan is continuity of government. I know that's important to all of you. Even if officials are injured, facilities are damaged, systems go down, essential government functions must continue. Orders of succession are in place for leadership, vital records are protected and backed up, alternate facilities are identified. In short, this plan ensures that the government doesn't stop functioning just because we have a disaster. Next slide. A local emergency declaration activates those emergency powers. It allows expedited purchasing, regulatory flexibility, and access to mutual aid. Most importantly, it is legally required to request state and federal disaster assistance. If a declaration is not issued, disaster funding is delayed or denied. And this is one of the most direct decision points that the Board of Trustees controls during a disaster. Next slide, please. The board's role does not begin and end with declarations. You approve preparedness funding, you set policy that shapes your community's readiness, you support volunteer and nonprofit disaster organizations, You ensure outreach to vulnerable populations, and you provide visible executive leadership during emergencies. Your policy decisions directly affect how well this community performs under stress. Next slide, please. As previously stated, this update includes 10 new functional annexes and 10 hazard annexes. These cover everything from mass sheltering and debris management to joint public information and radio interoperability. We also added EOC job aids and community lifeline reporting tools to make information flow faster and more consistent with FEMA's system. Accessibility compliance has also been made stronger throughout the plan. I think I mentioned that earlier on. Next slide, please. The next steps, as I mentioned, include formal plan adoption and promulgation. I did bring with me the signature page today if you're prepared for that. If not, totally understand. But that's really a big deal for us to get that plan fully signed off on as soon as possible so we can move that forward in the process and begin using the plan. We will then submit it to the state and then be able to provide multi-agency training on the new plan, do some public-facing education on the plan, and then have our ongoing maintenance so it doesn't become as outdated as it did previously. And we know emergency planning is not a one-time product, but it's just a continuous program that we have to keep up with. So that's our goal. Next slide, please. If you've got the time, I'll go quickly through some of our accomplishments over the last year of OEM since I am here before you. And I just want you to know the kinds of things that we've been working on for the town of Mesilla as well as the rest of our jurisdictions. Just share with you a few of those key accomplishments. If you have questions about any of them, I'm happy to sit down and discuss in more detail. But this past year, we broke ground on our new Emergency Operations Center, which I'm super excited about. If you've driven past NMSU on the interstate, you've likely seen it. It's up on a mountain just below the water tower. So please drive by. It's really cool. We'll invite you to the opening. We hope that you all will be able to make it, but that will substantially change the way that we do business. It gives us a lot more ability to bring in trainings. We could host any sort of trainings that would augment or assist your either your board or your employees here, whether it be incident command training or exercises, that kind of thing. So super excited about that. Our team responded to 4 federally declared disasters last year in support of other jurisdictions as well as our own. Some of our own included areas like Rincon, Vado, Del Cerro, and Barrino. We also activated a family assistance and resource center following the Young Park shooting. This provided coordinated victim, family, and survivor support. Next slide, please. Thank you. We delivered advanced incident command training to regional responders. I believe we trained 120 responders this summer. We did some expanded CPR and AED training with Spanish language outreach, hosted a rail car hazmat response training, advanced staff through wildfire, debris, and severe weather programs. We know training is one of the strongest predictors of operational success during real disasters, and it's become one of our strongest focuses just to make sure that we're as up to date as possible. Next slide, please. We completed multiple exercises this year from full scale to tabletops, including hazmat, mass casualty, election security, cybersecurity, energy sector, wildfire, agricultural, and flood response. Exercises really work to expose weaknesses in a safe environment so those weaknesses don't hurt us during real emergencies. So again, a big focus for us. Next slide. We deployed 45 new interoperable radios regionally, placed a large animal rescue trailer into service, and advanced the county's transition into the statewide radio system. Of course, there's the finalization of the All Hazards Emergency Operations Plan that I've spoken about for your consideration. And we also updated what's called the All Hazard Mitigation Plan, which takes projects and I believe your jurisdiction heavily participated in that and has some projects included in it. Additionally, we managed $16 million in grant funding, completed a countywide hazardous materials commodity flow study to better understand our transportation risks as well. Next slide. OEM maintains continuous coordination with first responders, healthcare utilities, volunteer organizations, and state partners. We serve on statewide emergency management boards and planning committees. We've advanced automated alerting between dispatch, the EOC, and partner agencies. One big step forward this last year was hosting a countywide water summit, which focused on shared utility risk. The team developed disaster donations education to reduce post-disaster fraud and waste. If you saw the TikTok, please tell me you didn't. I would really appreciate that. It was a little bit cringeworthy for myself personally, but that was part of our education campaign. We strengthened our philanthropic partnerships for disaster recovery funding. And again, we know preparedness only works when the community understands it. So we keep it at the forefront that disasters are not managed by any one agency, they're managed by systems. Coordination and engagement have been the key to our successes this past year. Next slide. And this is our team. We've had some big changes in staffing. I believe all of you know Stephen Lopez, who left our team and moved into county administration. I was selected to take his role as emergency manager. Joy Chavez was promoted to the deputy emergency manager role. Mancel Pienka works for us as a volunteer coordinator, and we've hired in 2 additional emergency management coordinators, which are on the ends in the picture there, Tim Heydrich and Matt Calms. They bring a wealth of responder knowledge to the teams, really working to get our team moving all in the same direction and engaging with Mesilla more in the future. Next slide. And lastly, I'd just like to say thank you. The support and collaboration we've had with Mesilla this past year has been really amazing. From an emergency management perspective, we view preparedness as a policy decision, and your support in areas like flood prevention and utility infrastructure, target hardening have resulted in better protection of life and property, faster response, stronger recovery. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you today, and I'm happy to take any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Amanda. A lot of good information.
Okay.
You're working on a bunch too.
I had a question related to what is flooding the most major issue?
Yes, sir. Mayor, Trustee Nevadas. Flooding is probably the hazard that has affected us historically the worst. This past summer, we had a federally declared disaster, both up north and down south, with our communities of Barreno, Vado, Del Cerro, and Rincon. And FEMA is currently on the ground. We're in full recovery mode from that. Even though those floods happened late July, we're still really working with FEMA, who works out of our office right now, to recoup both public infrastructure funds and also to help individuals who were affected by the disaster. But that's probably the one we plan for the heaviest and anticipate being continuing to be the thing that plagues us the most. I think that's the value and benefit of our mitigation plan, is really that we can hopefully begin to mitigate against some of those historical floods that keep coming through, and building infrastructure that really changes the way that water flows through our communities, so doesn't have as big of an effect. But yes, sir, I would say flooding is probably our hazard of most concern.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So, Mayor, will you add it to the agenda for the next meeting?
And so this is an actual agreement that you're
So
looking at, or-
essentially, it's a promulgation page. So each of the jurisdictions signs the page, and you've historically signed on the past plan. I believe I sent that to you in an email. If I did not, I'd be happy to. But essentially, the mayor is the signatory on the plan, and essentially, you're saying that your jurisdiction agrees that this is the plan that will continue and move forward. We hope that you feel like you have participated in the creation of the plan already, such that you would feel comfortable signing it. But we're happy to workshop any additional things that you might be concerned about.
So yes, I will add it. Okay. And I'll get that out to everybody.
Okay.
When do you need the signatures, or what?
I'll take it when you're ready for it. So it's one original page. So I'll keep it with me until you're ready to sign it. I believe there's 2 other jurisdictions that still need to sign. And so whenever you're ready, I'll bring that back. And I'm keeping it in my hot little hands until we're ready, just so it doesn't get misplaced. But I'm happy to do that whenever. And if you'd like me to come back at another time to, to discuss more, answer questions, or obtain the signature, happy to do so.
I'll follow up with you on that, the paperwork. That way I can have that.
Great.
You might have sent it to me. It's been a crazy couple of weeks.
Understood. Yes, sir.
We'll get it for you, for sure.
Okay.
And we'll get it out.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you today.
Thank you, man. Next item on the agenda, item 5C, presentation by Beasley Mitchell for our FY 24-25 audit.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, trustees. The audit that I'm going to be talking about today is for June 30th, 2025. Hannah Lee, the CPA from my firm that actually performed your audit, is on maternity leave. However, I am the partner that oversees all our audits, so I'm very happy to be here with you all today. As discussed, the audit is for June 30th, 2025. I'm going to go over key items for your audit. Number one is that you received an unmodified opinion. An unmodified opinion is the best opinion that you can receive. It means that we don't have reservations on your financial statements as presented. Does that mean that the audit is perfect? No, but it means that once we finished all our work, it was very reasonable and fairly presented. We'll go over the items that were not perfect at the end of the audit, and we'll answer any questions on that. I do have some required communication for you all. First of all, your responsibilities as an entity. Your responsibilities are to keep internal controls in your systems and to provide us information that we're requesting throughout our audit. My responsibility is to assess the risk of you as an organization. We go and evaluate each category in your financial statements. So cash, investments, your revenue, your expenditures, and then we determine risk based on what we've seen your prior findings to be and any activity that we're seeing in the current year. Now, once we assess that risk, we test those items, and then we determine if there's any areas that we need to expand on, and then we communicate that to you all. Okay? Any questions on that first item? Now, the second report that we issue to you all is a report on internal controls. That report does not actually give you a finding, an opinion, I'm sorry. That report, what it does is it says, if when we're auditing, we identify any weaknesses in internal controls, we're going to report them to you as an organization. We first discuss them with management and make sure that we're not missing a gap somewhere and determine that we're not overseeing something that you have alternatively in your systems to make sure that things are in line. And then anything that does result as a finding, then we report it to you all. We did have 3 findings in the current year. Okay, one of them was assessed as a material weakness. One of them was assessed as a significant deficiency, and one of them was assessed as a non-compliance. The levels of findings go from other non-compliance, material non-compliance, significant deficiency, and then material weakness. Material weakness being the most egregious of those types of findings. Now, you did have, like I said, a material weakness. However, it was not significant enough to modify your opinion, which means that your opinion is still a clean opinion. Now, what I'd like to point out is that we've been doing the audit for you all for the last 5 years. And something that I really want to commend Gloria and you as trustees and the mayor, that you've really given them the support that they need for this, is that your findings have decreased year after year since we've started doing your audit. Last year, we had 5 findings and 2 findings have now been cleared. And so in the current year, we have 3 findings. We really love to see that progression because findings should not be a punitive item. They're really like a tool for you as an organization to improve year after year. And so I've seen that improvement significantly over the last 5 years that we've been here. So thank you very much, Gloria, and your team, and you trustees and mayor for giving them that support to really work on those findings. Okay. Now I'm going to go over the findings. The first finding is a cash reconciliation finding. That's the one that's considered a material weakness. Now, normally when we have a material weakness in cash, it can modify your opinion because cash is very important. The reason this one does not modify your opinion is that we don't believe that there's an issue with missing cash or misuse of cash. That is not the problem. The problem is that in your bank reconciliations, which are pretty complicated, you're using a pooled cash system where all funds are pooled together and then divided into each of the individual funds. There's a reconciliation item of $7,937 that cannot be cleared. Now, we've actually met with Gloria and actually talked to your software providers because it seems to be an issue in your software, not necessarily that there's any funding missing or a misplacement of any funding. If there was a misplacement of funding, we'd be having a completely different conversation. Again, it's a material weakness because it's cash, but not anything that would modify your opinion because we're not concerned with missing funding. Our commitment is, of course, to work with Gloria and your software to try to get that reconciled, hopefully as soon as possible, but that's where that finding comes in. Any questions on that finding?
So this is on trustees, if you're in your audit book on page 93.
Page 93.
And this was the one that has been a reoccurring, this is a comment that with the courts, the balancing in that court.
Correct. Yes, sir. And like I said, we're committed to work with your software providers and your team to try to get that cleared for you and see what we can do to make that ease on. Again, if at any point we felt that there was any funding missing or a misuse of funds, then we'd be having a different conversation. That would have come to you all already ahead of time as well. Okay. The second finding that we have is a budget finding. So essentially the way your budget works is that currently you are looking at your preliminary budget. That preliminary budget is really a draft that goes to the state. Now your final budget for the year goes in July. Now from July on, then you can do budget adjustments. I know that this is probably something that all of you are very familiar with, but I just like to go over it just in case there's any questions on that. A lot of the times when we have those budget adjustments, we're not aware that those budget adjustments need to go in until we're closing out the year. And so sometimes we just don't make that bar adjustment in time. We did have 3 items that were over budget. They're general transfers. Transfers do have to be approved individually. And so that's an issue there. Your American Rescue Plan transfers, and then your Cannabis Regulation Fund expenditures. So those funds were over budget by those line items. The rest of your funds were all in budget, and we didn't have any concerns on those. Essentially, the best recommendation that I can give you with that is that in your April, May, evaluating that budget to actual and determining if we need to do a budget adjustment for those before the year end closes. If you can get those bars in before the year end closes, then we should be in line for budget. Any questions on that? Perfect. And the last finding that we had is related to per diem. We had one instance where reimbursement did not have the proper approval. Now, when we look at that per diem, it doesn't look like it's an incorrect per diem. It looks supported by the per diem that was expended. So we're not concerned with its validity. It just didn't have visible approval. Okay. And then there were 2 instances where the reimbursement was the wrong form. So again, that was approved. It was just an outdated form. And so that's what that finding is related to. And now the big thing is making sure that your staff is using the correct form, that form is being updated on an annual basis. And then when we are reviewing those items, that approvals are in each of those items. Like I said, the one that did not have approval, it looked legitimate without any concerns. Otherwise, that would have been a higher level finding, but this is just another non-compliance, an error that happened, an oversight. Any questions on that? So as far as our audit report, the state has already approved and released that auditor report. It is on the state website, and so it is open for anyone to pull up. If you have any questions, I am going to leave a couple of my business cards up here. Yes, ma'am.
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
On the cash part, should we still be giving out receipts or should we be giving out paper receipts from the computer instead of the book?
When we're making anyone makes a payment in, as long as there's a receipt, it doesn't matter if it's a paper receipt or a computer receipt. We just want to be able to see that there's a tracking level. Okay. If it's a paper receipt, of course, all those have those carbons. And so that's the support that we want to make sure that we keep. Now, I will tell you, globally, we are going into a more electronic system. And so if the town can push forward towards that, it's in the best interest of the town because it's not if, but when we no longer have any paper trails and everything's electronic. I'll tell you, a great majority of my audits are starting to go fully remote. I really enjoy the in-person for the conversations, the ability to have that one-on-one with people that have concerns, but the actual testing that we see and the support that we see, it really is going very automated. Any other questions? Please feel free to take my card. We've extended this to Gloria and her team, but for you all as well, if you have any questions throughout the year, we really want to be a resource for you throughout the year, not just during audit. So feel free to reach out to us with any questions and we're happy to help. Thank you very much.
Before we move on, are there any other questions? Or before we move on to our next agenda item, I do want to note, and I had Gloria leave the paperwork with you as well. That way you see that is that typically in years past that it was required by the board to approve the audit by resolution. This office of the state auditor did take that requirement away, so it is no longer needed. And I believe the reasoning is because it's already been approved by OSA. It's already there. They've already done their reviews, and it's gone through that process in determination of that. And it's already filed and open for public review as well. So
Do we have to change auditors every so year or not anymore?
we have,
No
I
offense
think,
to you.
You're fine.
yes, we will have to, but this year, upcoming year, I think we still have one more year.
You must change every 8 years. You do, since our last quote was for up to 2025, you are required to receive quotes this year because your audit is over the $20,000. You do not have to go out to formal RFP. And then that quote could be, for example, on our end, we'll be able to provide you a quote for 3 years. However, you can change at any time. Let's say you said, yes, let's extend you for another year, and next year you're not happy for whatever reason, you can change at any time, even if you get an immediate quote.
Thank you. Any other? Good. Next item on the agenda is item 5B. Let's see, I'm getting warm now. I don't know about you guys know, but.
Yes, that's why I'm going.
It's turning, kicking off.
Oh, it's great.
Everybody gets upset because I love it cold, then it gets too cold. Next item is on the agenda, 5D, and presentation. And it's really just an acknowledgement. I do want to acknowledge that the members of the Hurtado family here in town did make a donation specifically to the fire department. And so I just want to recognize that donation. That money will be utilized to repurposing or going towards the money that's being saved to restore and refurbish the fire engine, which hopefully we'll have some other grant funding that will go along with that and get this project done sooner than later. But a shout out and a thank you to the Hurtado family for that donation and everything that you did on that. So if you would. So yeah, that they did not. I did ask them if they wanted to disclose, and that they did not. But we do have funding that has been received from them, as well as fundraising that we've done during other public events, and so as well as other donations that have been received for other departments. That we will encumber those funds until we're able to utilize them. So it's a great thing at the end of the day. All right. Next item on the agenda is item number 6, approval of the consent agenda. This consent agenda does include the BOT meeting minutes from our April 27th meeting. That's not the PZHC HAC case 062118 for 2134 Guy the Principal, number D. Submitted by Eric Walkinshaw, requesting approval to install solar panels on a detached structure on his property in the historic residential zone. Approval of PZHC case 062117, 2410 Guy the Principal, number D, submitted by Avion de Messia, requesting approval for a business sign in the historic commercial zone. a purchase requisition for roof care maintenance repairs in the amount of $6,230.12. A purchase requisition for Able Sign Company for signage installation in the amount of $15,550. Purchase requisition for Cordova Construction for EV charging stations in the amount of $420,000 to $209.34. Purchase acquisition for A Mountain Construction for lateral extension, $23,159.96. Purchase acquisition for Milestone Construction for the public safety building canopy construction in the amount of $23,513.34. And a purchase requisition for Souder Miller and Associates for water work on the water tank application and grant and engineering in the amount of $14,867.03. Can I have a motion on the floor, please?
Second.
Motion on the floor by trustee Cadena, seconded by trustee Nevades.
Mayor, we need to make a friendly amendment. The minutes are from April 13th,
Not 26.
not the 27th, because that meeting was canceled on the 27th.
So an amendment on the floor for the minutes on item A to reflect April 13th, not the 27th.
Correct.
Any other discussion? Original motion on the floor for the, well, I guess let's go back and do it properly, right? If I can get a motion to amend the consent agenda to reflect that.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Johnson Burek, seconded by trustee Garcia for the amendment of the consent agenda. Is there discussion on that? Gloria, if you can roll call with that amendment, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson Burek,
Yes.
trustee Cadena,
Yes.
trustee Garcia,
Yes.
trustee Nevada,
Yes.
Mayor, roll call.
Right, so the amendment has been approved. We'll go back to the original approval of the consent agenda by motion by trustee Cadena, seconded by trustee Nevades. Is there any further discussion? Seeing as there is not, Gloria, if we can roll call vote for the approval of the consent agenda as it has been amended.
Trustee Cadena,
Yes.
trustee Garcia,
Yes.
trustee Nevada,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson Burek,
Yes.
Mayor, roll call for yes.
Thank you very much for approval of the consent agenda. That does include the approval of the BOT meeting minutes for our April 13th meeting, PZHA case 062118, PZHA case 062117, purchase requisition for roof care, purchase requisition for Able Sign Company, purchase requisition for Cordova Construction, purchase requisition for A Mountain Construction, purchase requisition for Milestone Construction, and purchase requisition for Souder Miller and Associates. Next item on the agenda, item number 7, is staff updates and comments. Well, Marshall's out sick, unfortunately, and not here, but I do believe he the packet. But we'll move over to fire.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. Thank you again. Best thing we had was Cinco de Mayo, just last week. The foam pit was a lot of fun. We even got to play in the foam with the motorcycle club. We'll call them a club. And all the firefighters and law enforcement that were there on Sunday got to make an adobe brick. So it was a lot of fun. They had a record number of bricks this year, 180. So that was pretty cool. I'm not going to take any credit for the. I'm sorry?
That was just 1 day.
1 day. I might have been encouraging people a little bit, just a little bit. But if anybody gets a chance to go do that, they are going to try and build a small Adobe replica home. We're trying to figure out where to put that just for the community. Firefighters continue to train and give a ton of hours. The report for the stipend is now with Miss Gloria. Chief Morris had one thing he wanted to say.
Sorry, it's actually two things now. Before it was just one. I just want to say we're recruiting for our Recruit Academy over the summer. I'm sure you probably saw the post on Facebook. We're going to start posting our QR code everywhere. We also have paper applications at the station. We're going to try to run an academy going every Saturday, Sunday, starting June 6th, ending on August 1st with an anticipated graduation date. That way we can try to help boost our volunteer service. We haven't done an academy for the last 2 years just because we've been so busy, but now things are kind of stabilizing, so we're going to try to do an academy. And I just wanted to talk about May is Motorcycle Safety Month, motorcycle awareness. We had a fatal crash, unfortunately, during the fiesta. And I just want to say, look out for motorcycles. And if you're riding a motorcycle, look out for drivers. So just everybody continue to be safe. That's all I got. Thank you.
We stand for any questions.
Question.
Yes, sir.
How is the Community Connect? Are you
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Community Connect? How is that going? Have you seen?
We have about 59 people signed up, which is still going up. And we still are available if anybody needs. I mean, we'll bring a tablet out, we'll sign people up, we'll make up an email form, we'll set it all up for them. So if you know anybody that needs it.
Have you connected to the individuals that come to the meals program at the senior meals program at the community center? I mean, because you have.
That would be a good spot to maybe see if they know anybody that needs some help. I mean, we go to the same homes over and over again, and when we see somebody that needs that extra help, we encourage them or try and sign them up. It's getting there. I know that we have a much better or higher percentage than anybody in the area that signed up. All the other departments also have it, but we have a pretty high percentage of our citizens signed up.
Great. Thank you.
No, thank you. Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lorenzo is also out of office right now, but he did have his report that was added in. And he'll, I'm sure, have some major updates. So Eddie, Community and Economic Development.
Mr. Mayor, Board of Trustees, Eddie Salazar, Community Development, Community and Economic Development. I'm just going to review some of the items that I did submit already with the monthly report. This is for the month of March. There were 7 business licenses that were issued, 4 zoning permits that were issued through considered through the planning and zoning, and 7 administrative approvals for the month of March. Projects that we were prepared for, as Greg mentioned, or Chief Whited, Cinco de Mayo was in my opinion, was a success. There was quite a few people here. We had a lot of fun. And hopefully, we're already talking about, you say Septiembre, our goal is always to try to make it better and more enjoyable for everybody and safe, as obviously. But particularly again, my Querencia did a great job with the bricks, with the adobes. Matter of fact, I got one in my office still. And it's holding up. It's holding up very well. So good job on that part. We did have a foam party. That was new to the Cinco de Mayo thing. I think people enjoy that. So we're trying to look at for different ways so we can kind of break up the same. A lot of people might not come. This is my speculation. Might not go to the events or that we have, because we continue to have the same thing. Even though it's nice, like I've always when I talk about business revenues, you might like something, you might like pizza. I love pizza, but I'm not gonna eat pizza every day, right? So you might love it, but anytime you bring things a little bit different to the community, a little bit more exciting, I think that draws a little bit more attention to our community or to our events. So we're already talking Cinco de Mayo. We do have some plans on that. We do have coming up Preservation Week. Diana's been working very hard on that. She has a great. I got the agenda right out here if you haven't seen it yet. Also, along with the Preservation Times, that's our second edition. Preservation Week. If you look at the agenda, there's a lot of good stuff that's happening. A lot of speakers, a lot of any of you that are participating. Thank you very much. I do. My understanding there are some homes, private homes that are going to be shown or touring during that week. Ms. McWilliams, Carla McWilliams, which is our cultural affairs contact. She will be down as well. And then doing some speaking as well. So that's exciting for that. We are gonna have a blacksmith. That's gonna be part of that, the recognition of the blacksmith. We also gonna be speaking about that. This week, May 14th, I did send an update today, May 14th, on the impact that the historic preservation does on our economic growth. And I think that's a question that I think that I've had in my mind, and I think that I'm sure that it's been on you, this governing board's mind about, preservation. How does that impact the economy? How do we balance that, right, between, revenue growth and the preservation of our town and especially our culture. So again, that's May 14th at 11 a.m. We do have the commission, and myself and Liana as part of the membership to that. Unfortunately, Liana was at the time did not consider involving the board trustees, but I am communicated, sent an email out so we can include you on that. And basically all that is that you'll be able to participate in their training or virtual trainings via seminar remotely. You're more than welcome, to come to these hostings for our training, and you don't have to be a member for that, but that's just, again, to participate or attend remotely in case you cannot make it to some of our training meetings here. As the mayor mentioned, I'm scoring iWorks is a very necessary or it's needed for our permit process, especially when it comes to codes, public works. It ties a lot of departments together, and it helps communicate between one another. It also helps with the community, where the community can be involved, to where they can actually send out work orders, almost in a sense, you want to put them that way. They take a picture of the pothole, they post it online, and then there's a coordinator that designates all these things that are coming in, and it designates them to the right department to get it handled. So it's a very good tool because a lot of times, we always ask to call dispatch and such, but whenever it comes to a brick or a sign fell down or those kinds of things, sometimes it's a lot easier when you have a visual instead of trying to figure out making contact. But again, this helps give the member of the community a assigned person to contact, right? So again, that's just part of it, but there's a lot more to it that I think is very, it creates a lot of good reports to present to the governing board as well. Square 9, we're still working on Square 9. Again, that's more the other part of record management. It's very, very needed. Record management. We do have a lot of our files already scanned, ready for the software. We're still working on our replats with bigger files to get them scanned in, and then that way it's at our fingertips, and we can access them, not just myself, staff, maybe the public, and also the governing board if required. I always get called GSI. The GIS that we started, we're about 70% done to be able to open it, to give it to the public so they can access it. And then, of course, on top of that is just a building block. From there, we can start. I still need to get with fire, figure out where we can place all the fire hydrants, and then to get with public works to figure out, where all the main, anything you want to put on that. You want to put manholes, where all the manholes are located. You want to put where all the main valves, all that stuff is. So in case you are part of the community and you want to access, for whatever reason you need to know where's the main, what's one that you're able to find those on the GIS. I said it right again. So again, that might be integrated with Square iWorks, because I believe iWorks also that have capabilities. So in case that does happen, all that information will be updated into iWorks, so we won't have to have two payments for two softwares in our computer. The lodgers tax, still working with the lodgers tax. I'm still having a hard time finding my VRBO contact. We are doing very well with the STRs. The next meeting I have, or next report I will be reporting. Remember last year whenever we adopted our STR resolution, we mentioned in February we're going to revisit it and see where we're at. I think we're right where we need to be, but I will get those numbers, and you will see them come next reporting period, which is already not too long from now. That's all I have, and I stand by for any questions. Yes, sir.
You mentioned the agenda for preservation.
Uh-huh.
Could you send that to me? Because I share that with NMSU people, in the. on the
Okay,
campus.
you want me, I'm not sure, Liana was the one that sent them, but do you want me to send it to you? Is that what you're requesting? Okay, we'll do via email?
I just looked through my email and I couldn't find them. Maybe
Okay, all right. Well, we have them here, but I'll send it to you so you can, that'd be awesome. Thank you, thank you. One last thing, you reminded me as far as sharing, nominations. We're still working on the nominations. This Cinco de Mayo Preservation Week has kind of like kept us busy in that sense, but as soon as Liana gets back, she'll be back Wednesday. I spoke with her, but we are going to get moving on the nominations as well because we want to do them at least every, again, quarter as we talked about. How many we do, depending on the situation of the case. But we like to get those also moving on that because it's going to take some time to get through all of them in the local registry.
I might have a couple of nominations.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and that, she continues to ask if I had anybody mention any nominations for her to consider and process through. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Did you say the training was at 1 o'clock or 11 o'clock?
It is 11 o'clock, and it's 11. Originally, I said 11, but the reminder when I sent it said 1, but that's Eastern time, and I didn't pay attention, and I apologize. But it's 11. It's 11 a.m. And it's for an hour and a half.
Just checking with you. I thought, I got it wrong. I thought I had heard it wrong or something. But thank you.
You ready?
No.
No, okay, here we go. One, I'm hoping, since the mayor called me out 2 years ago, are we working on Queen Amasía for 16 de septiembre?
On what?
Queen Amasía, are we bringing her back? Yeah, because back then it was selling tickets and whoever sold the most tickets won for Queen Amasía, and those funding went to the fire department. So that was huge on it. So
And
if
that's
we have
one
to
thing I
change-
want to say is thank you for bringing that up because we had some previous crowned queens, like Yolanda Lucero was one of them, and she
Right.
brought in her crowns and shared that with Dorothy and the experience with that and doing that. So bringing back those traditions is definitely
My
gonna
cousin was
happen.
one of
That's
them.
awesome.
My aunt was one of them as well.
Yep.
And stuff, but it is a local resident that can only run. So on that one, so I'm hoping you
Sweet.
guys can bring it back on this 16 de septiembre.
Oh, that's definitely.
And then 2 is, can we go ahead and start advertising for the parade if they want to? Because I mean, people need to know that we're having a parade, so that way you can get more floats, and that way people can start. Yeah, people can start.
And we're talking about parade for 4th of July?
No, we have to pray for the
Yes.
16.
See, also.
And then, did you get anybody to sign up for this week's at Silver City for the planning and zoning?
2.
meeting? 2. Okay, I got the last minute notice on it, and I do apologize. I'll look more into it, and I passed it to Eddie. And I do apologize that, like I said, I should have been on top of it a little bit more, but I did request that everybody got the league's schedule, but obviously it didn't get passed out, so I will personally send it to Mr. Eddie so he can pass it all to you guys. And that had nothing to do with Eddie. That was my fault. I saw it at a late minute when I was signing up for a class, and I passed it to Mr. Eddie. So, and I do apologize for that. On that.
No worries, thank you.
And that wasn't his fault at all. 2 is thank you for the last minute lovely reading I'll be reading tonight. I appreciate that. And that's all.
Sit down.
I requested something, he gave it to me. That was last minute.
No, I just want to say before you sit down that on a note is that I am the community and economic development department. You guys, as we talked about, are kind of a funding arm that helps bring extra funds into the town. Does a different side of work, if you will. And with us just receiving our certified local government designation, that's huge for this community, and the access to now new historic preservation funds to help not just with buildings that we have, but creating standards and within our inventory, but also building that inventory. It's going to be great for our community, and That happens because of the work that you all put into it, and of course to the board for moving those applications forward. But thank you for that continued, and I think it is something that we should celebrate and definitely get a good round of applause for that.
Yeah, thank you. I can't believe I forgot about that. That is a huge result. Kudos to Ms. Liana Aguirre on that, and the commission as well, working together. My first question I asked was, do we get like a plaque? Do we get something that we can be proud of, right? Something that we can hang somewhere. And she's, no, we just got an email say that we're approved. Like, man, come on. So can we create our own? I want to do something to where give recognition to the, you hang that with pride, because really it does take a lot of requirements to meet. Certain kind of people needs to be involved. And I think we have the right team inside, public, commission, the governing board. Something to be very, very, very proud of. Again, thank you for reminding me.
The commission plays one of the biggest roles in that, with every little bit that they help and the experience that's required now to have that historic preservation side. So
Exactly.
it's a good thing.
So it's good stuff. Good stuff. You're welcome.
Finance. Oh, come on now. You got some days. Trucking through the budget. Right? All right. We'll move on to our next item on the agenda. Item 8, public input on the cases. This is where the public is allowed to address the board for the items under item 9, new business. If there's any input on the cases that are being heard this evening. There's no input, then we'll move on to our item number 9A, discussion for audit findings and responses. I left this on here just in case there's questions from the board towards the staff for any clarification or anything that you want us to look into, whatever the case may be, but also to clarify that the auditor or OSA has fully approved the audit, and it is available online. If the members of the public would like copies of the audit, we do have extra books here in the office as well. But that'll always be open if there's any questions in the future in that too. Any discussion or questions? Moving on, approval of PZHAC, 9B, approval of PZHAC case 06183. That does have an amendment on there for 2450 Calle Principal, submitted by Mr. Felix Armijo, requesting approval to amend his plans of, instead of having a front parapet porch, to change to a corrugated roof in the historic commercial zone.
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor by trustee Nevada's, seconded by trustee Cadena. Open it up for discussion.
Mr. Mayor, Board of Trustees, this application was approved over a year ago, and there was a extension that was obtained another 6 months. And if you look, the extension is good through November. But the request is a change from a flat roof on the front porch to a corrugated style slanted roof on the front porch. I believe it's a very basic request. When the P&Z, the PZAC reviewed it, we didn't have the actual what type of shade of red, although our code says red. It's kind of hard to pinpoint that. But Mr. Amigo did bring a piece of corrugated red to my office, which is consistent with what our code, I guess how I interpret it, right? But it's red like other reds that we've seen normally on metal buildings here metal roofs here in Mesilla. Again, it's just a change of the slant. And everything else, as far as the drainage, the building, the porch itself is 8 feet away from the front property line. And again, it's already in the plans that there are 2 small drain ponds, one on the north side of that and one towards the rear. for the drainage purposes. But other than that, I just feel that it's a simple request, but there was some questions or concerns about when it was approved and if there was any extensions on the construction on the permit. So I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that and I brought that to the governing board for consideration. And I stand by for any questions.
It's not taking any more parking, correct?
I'm sorry?
He's not taking any more parking?
No, not anymore. When it was originally approved, it was approved for 3 parkings, including a ADA parking on it. The away from the property where it's at, because it's still on one parcel, there used to be, you remember, a big hole that I call it, right? So away with the parking, away from other than that already exists in that plaza area, it's the same parking. We did discuss parking in that parcel regarding the businesses on there that make sure that it's adequate. 24 parking spaces are needed, calculations. And that he's currently that business was approved with the condition that he needs to mark his property to show those 24 parkings that's required, plus the 3 with the this will be 27. 27.
So it does have ADA parking designated already?
Yes. Yes, it will have ADA parking. Right now, there is, now whether it meets the ADA, Mr. Maes is looking at that or will look at that. He does have some ADA parkings currently on the plaza, but I mean, whenever you finish building, there's just going to be one required for that one as well. That's what the 3rd one is too, plus the ADA parking.
Okay, because it'd be important to be in compliance with the-
Right.
The other one is there was pictures of other same type of material that's used around that area. Like,
Yes, correct. Thank you. Yeah, there's a Thunderbird across. His own plaza has corrugated slant roof porch and also a patio in the front. So just the color is red, but our code does allow either natural or red to be used.
So there is temporary fencing there, so that will be taken down in front that runs along the street.
There's temporary.
Fence.
Correct. That's just for construction purpose, for safety.
Okay. But there is a ponding area for rain.
Yeah, and he also already is in discussion with Ms. Liana regarding the plaque. Another one of the conditions that was set, that whenever the building is once it's complete, a plaque needs to be set on the property, in front of the property, recognizing that property itself for a historic value that it meets, that it has towards Mesilla.
All right, so that will be
Yes.
prominently to.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Trustees, any other questions? Motion on the floor by trustee Nevada, seconded by trustee Cadena for approval of PZHAC case 0623 as it has been amended. If there are no other questions, Gloria, if you can roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Trustee Cadena? Yes. Mayor, the roll call is 4 yes.
Thank you very much for approval of PZHAC case 06183 as it has been amended. Next item on the agenda, item 9C, PZHAC case 062-127, 2355 Avenida Mesilla, submitted by Las Cruces Public Schools. We're requesting approval to construct an accessory building to the school for the purpose of career and technical education in the historic commercial zone. Motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Johnson Burek, seconded by trustee Garcia. I will open it up for discussion.
Mr. Mayor, trustees, again, Eddie Salazar with Community and Economic Development. I am very excited about this application. I mentioned that during our planning and zoning meeting, and you got the packet, and that's application basically in a nutshell is they are building a accessory building, unattached accessory building on the property next to us, Rio Grande Prep. Thank you. I always forget the full name, but yeah, they are building an auxiliary building and for the students to get hands-on actual skills, technical education training, the the attachment there to your packet. It's pretty self-explanatory, but I'll go ahead and go through our board action form formally. And this is case number 062127. As Mr. Mayor Hernandez mentioned, it is at 2355 Avenida de Mesilla. Was submitted by Las Cruces Public Schools requesting approval to construct an accessory building to the school for the purpose of career and technical education. Historic commercial is the zone. Las Cruces Public Schools proposed to design and construct construction of a new 4,295 GSF career technical education building on the RGPI campus, Rio Grande Prep Institute. In Mesilla, New Mexico, site work includes earthwork for building foundation, sidewalks, a new exterior concrete pad, and canopy for outdoor work area, fenced yard, including slide gate, and all required drainage improvements and utility connections and extensions. The new RGPI CTE building includes, but is not limited to, CTE shop, focusing on construction trades, classrooms, restrooms, storage rooms, and building support spaces. The new building structure will be CMU and structural steel, will have insulated stucco finish and a TPO roofing system. The interior work and finishes include a sealed concrete flooring, porcelain tile at restrooms, metal stud framing with gypsum board, acoustical ceiling, exposed structure at workshop area, and painted. See attached. It's going to look just like the school. I mean, there's very technical, construction terms, but it's going to look like the school. It's going to be stucco. It's going to be metal frame, and I don't know yet. I'm here tonight in case you have any questions. How many students and such, and what kind of classes, and that. But for now, my understanding is, just like I read, is for the students for a career, for more of a hands-on training. But it could be later on lead into further education for our community, such as night schools or people outside of the school that wants to go in and maybe do some technical training in themselves, kind of like a tech school. So I thought that was pretty neat. Along with this building or this program, we do have the Mercado proposal still that's coming soon after. That's we talked about. That's going to be built in front of the school. There have some changes I'm hearing. We went through the whole competition process. I don't know if you remember, it was a couple of years ago where they actually came in. We had a presentation there at the community center. Students from different parts of the school district, they came up with a plan or design. What design should we approve for the Mercado that they have? And basically, in what is entitled is just a lot of pergolas type roofing with some foundation, and then the students will be able to sell to them to their own students, themselves, faculty, maybe even depending on our consideration, open it to the public so they too can go in there and sell some of the culinary stuff, maybe some art, maybe some wellness horseshoes and stuff like that. So I think that'd be pretty neat also as well for our kids and the community. I stand by for any questions. Again, the applicants are here today. The one last thing I do want to mention, sorry, trustee, is the cost of the project. Right, the cost of the project. I don't know. I believe I left it empty, or I put zero on it because in our code it doesn't give exceptions to the applicants and who applies and who gets to pay the zoning fees, right? But typically, when it comes to another government agency, the governing body typically waives the fees. I don't want to make that decision myself. It is considerable. It's almost a $3 million project, and I bring it up to the board to make that determination. And I stand by.
So it is going to be a really good addition to that educational facility. I mean, it's
correct.
As far as because there's a new building that it may attract more students to the school.
Want to answer that question?
The parking,
the parking will be considered was considered. Sorry, along with the size of the building. Generally, when there's a new development, they go off of square footage. It doesn't go off of how many students, but that was already considered along with that. But you have anything else to add to it?
No, the parking shouldn't change.
How many could you bring up?
Robert Williams, I'm a construction project manager at LCPS. Right now, the student, I think the population at the school is about 30 students, the high school, but most of them are bused in. So it's like, we don't anticipate any additional parking. As was said, that there is, and I don't have details, and that everything hasn't been worked out, but there has been talk with DACC about the facility also being used in the evenings by public. Being able to have residents in the area and stuff like that come in and do classes and things like that. I don't know, that's not worked out yet. And that's all, stuff that's going to happen in the future. But any parking and stuff required with that would be accounted for, because the school won't be open at that time. So the parking lots and stuff will be available. So
what you're talking about is the needing for community education.
Yes.
That the community college has, it's been doing for a long time, I think.
Yes, yeah. And it's like, and right now, like I said, there's still discussions on it. So I don't know what exactly is going to happen with that, but that was the intent when we started designing this. This is getting congressional or state funding for it. And it has been, and I think, like I said, when we started this project, there was discussions with the ACC about also getting involved. So
All right.
More of a
collaboration with them.
and it will be a center for basically all the schools. So it's not just the RGPI students that will be using it. They will, a lot of the other high schools don't have facilities or adequate facilities and stuff like that. So the intent is that they could bring students over during the day for additional needs and stuff like that as needed.
So what's the timeline, for the project?
We right now the design is done and we've submitted everything. Once we get your approval, everything will go to CID for permits. We plan on going out for construction or construction bids in July. So we're waiting for the state funding to come through. Once it's here, we'll put it out on the street, and we're looking at about a 9-month construction period. So by this time next year, we should be ready to do a ribbon cutting for it. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Trustees, any other questions or anything on that? We do, as it was mentioned by Eddie earlier, one of the requests that is needed is a recommendation or a condition from the board on whether we keep the fees or waive the fees for the project. So if we keep the fees at our current rate, we were looking at how much?
Well, I just did the math again, and we're looking at close to $60,000. Because our bracket only goes up to $1 million, and it's like 40 plus. And then it says $25 for every 1,000 after that. So when I did the math, we're looking at pretty close up to $60,000. And again, there's nothing mentioned in the code, so the applicant applies and we pay the fees. So
It doesn't mention that if it's another governmental entity, that we don't have any language to that effect.
no, but it's not in our code, no. But it's customary that other government agencies they don't charge each other fees.
Eddie, not to interrupt you, Eddie, but I did ask him to go through some of the more recent applications that have been submitted by the schools in particular for work that they've done on that. So you can talk
Yeah,
about that too.
they've been fairly small, fees and projects, and those have been waived. But again, this is just too substantial that I feel like I needed to bring it to the board and give some direction on that.
A board decision and direction.
Correct. I mean, do we approve it waive the fee, or do we approve it and pay the fees, or there a discount? I don't know. I don't know.
Because there could be a certain percentage discount, or whatever you want to call it, instead of the whole amount.
Yeah, that's what's difficult.
Was that?
That's what's difficult to determine because there's no language.
I know, but we could discuss that
All
as
right.
an option or completely waive it. I mean, I would wait for other board members to.
Yeah, I'm sure, it's open for discussion amongst the board if they want to do it.
Well, in my own opinion, I wish I would have known about this in advance so we could have thought about it instead of having to make a decision right here and now. Because I would like to look at like other nonprofits or, what we've done in renting spaces or not so much construction fees, just everything we've done. The church, we haven't waived fees for them. So.
Yeah, I could give you that information. I mean, the church, we have it. Whenever the state came in for the museum, they paid for the fees. I mean, they did.
They did.
They did. The church,
That's a state entity.
correct.
So I think we need to be consistent.
I'm just bringing you that information, so I want to make sure that we're, again, the church is not a government agency, but still, it's, so yeah.
That's exactly what
And I agree with the trustee, and I wish we had known so that we could have thought, because you're looking for a condition, right?
I'm looking to get it approved, whatever that means, whatever is that necessary, right? So, I'm just,
And again, I'm, just maintaining that consistency because if we change what we've been doing, then we're opening ourselves up for something else down the road saying, well, this got waived and we're not a government entity, but we work with the government entities. I mean, I can just see it snowballing.
now, in the future, if we want to consider it, I mean, obviously we can work on amending our code or putting some language in there, right? But I mean, I understand what you're saying.
Just my opinion, I just think we need to be consistent with and not deviating on the spur of the moment. And I would support looking at down the road how we're going to approach future situations like this.
So let's just charge the fees. So I'll make the condition of, according to Mayor Pro Tem, is keep the fees as we've been keeping. Correct? You want,
So a point of clarification on that is
Right.
that because the motion on the floor is for approval of the application as it is,
right?
which the approval of the application as it is would be the normal application process, which
Correct.
does include the fees.
Correct.
So, I mean, you all have the ability to, approve it as it has been motioned, right? That's one. You can approve it with a condition, and that condition would be specifically set to waive the fees, discount the fees, do whatever. You can postpone and to review and think about it, do whatever you want. There's multiple options of what you can do.
We can postpone the whole thing.
But we're going to, if we do that, we're going to hold up the
Yes.
process.
Delay the process.
So that's why I want to be consistent.
Well, and let me ask this, Robert, if you would, in your, because it's just the general clarification questions, and not having your budget, do you know in the budget, did you account for certain fees being taken care of through building permits, so on and so forth?
We took our budgets always account for the permit fees from what we're estimating them to be. It's until they're actually submitted, it's hard to say what they are, but yes, our budgets usually include any permit fees.
Is
So
that based on a percentage, or is it just an overhead or overall overhead?
it's usually based on a percentage of whatever the total cost is. So it's like, so yeah. So.
For clarification.
So they already are expecting to pay the fee.
Yeah.
Answer your question.
Yeah.
But there should be future discussion about this, but it should be in the code so that
Correct.
we were following.
Yeah. And that's why I felt I needed to bring it up, because I wasn't like, I just didn't feel, again, myself to make that determination to include the governing board for that. In the future, we can bring it up.
At the side note though, Eddie, I understand what Mayor Pro Tem Johnson Burke is saying as well, but on a side note, thank you for actually coming to the board and telling us, you know what, I want your guys' opinion on it. You know, instead of just going it on your own on it. We appreciate that.
Yeah, it's kind
Both
of,
sides.
thank you,
I
man.
appreciate you coming up and telling us that where you want us to lead.
Well, for the point of what, Trustee Nevada's brought up as well, I think it's important for us to really look at that in the future, because we do have partnerships with other agencies such as this one, like in our SRO agreements and things like that, they shouldn't necessarily weigh into consideration for projects, but I think that it does when we show that we stand and work together as a community. I think that makes a huge difference at the end of the day. But we don't have something written into ordinance, and the consistency is always something that.
And it is a good project because I can see ability for the town to collaborate with the programs that are going to be offered there. So, but again, it's a setting a precedent, I guess. I mean, and so.
Great.
So we need to make the condition that to keep the fees.
No.
as-
No.
We're good.
As it is. So,
We're good.
is there any further discussion?
No.
No. Motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Johnson Burek, seconded by Trustee Garcia, for approval of PZHA case 062127. If there is no further discussion, Gloria, if we can roll call vote that approval, please.
Nevares.
Yes.
Yes.
Cadena. Yes. Trustee Garcia.
Yes.
Mayor Middleton is for yes.
Thank you very much for approval of PZHA case 062127. Next item on the agenda under 9D for approval of preliminary budget.
So moved.
Second. Sorry.
I didn't catch that one, so.
It was a time.
Motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Johnson Burek, seconded by Trustee Cadena. I will open it up for discussion. As I brought up during the work session, I am looking for approval of the overall preliminary budget, mainly so that the team can start entering in the numbers. I would request, as we had noted in our meeting, that we need to add some line items under stipends, and some extra allocations for overtime. So some funds to be added in specific, but with those ones being targeted, if we can do a friendly or condition to bring it back with those changes overall, but just so that the team, or if you don't feel comfortable with that, if you would postpone and set a specific date to postpone, that way we can do a special meeting.
I just had a real quick question because we already know what the stipends are for the firefighters. What monetary amount, and I don't know if you're going to contact the county or the city or maybe other municipalities that are more aligned with our small municipality in terms of what they pay for their on-call public works. So I don't know how you want.
You can give me direction on what you all want to see on that, and I'll move down that
And
direction.
then we bring it back and then that's when we'll vote on these changes. Is that?
Yep.
Trustees?
I think that's appropriate. I don't think it's going to be significant. I mean, I'm glad we're doing that. I want to thank Trustee Garcia for bringing that to our attention because it's really important that we're being fair to our employees. I think we can do it with approving the preliminary budget just so they get started on inputting the data because it's a lot. And I think we're pretty much on the same page as to what we want to happen. It'd be nice to have a little bit of research that might match other people on call that's the size of our town, just because it would be difficult to compare to Las Cruces because they're so big.
Right.
But I think we can come up with a fair amount.
And I think what was thought of it is a specific amount that would be for when, because it is a rotating on-call schedule.
Mhm.
So whenever they're on call specifically for that week, it would be a specific amount that is added into that pay for that week while they are on call specifically for that. So
That's how Las Cruces does it.
Yeah.
And then they get and then they get more money for the actual call, because we are paying them for their actual call, correct?
Right.
So it's just the on-call, only because when you're on call, you have to stay
I'll say it.
available. I'll say it's sober. That's the other thing. But you just have to be available. I mean,
So be it a family event,
yeah,
wedding, have to leave.
have to leave, correct.
so that's fair, but I
Is there
like,
any specific amount that you comes to mind to think about? I mean, I'll do the research, but just in thought, just right off the top of your head.
I just don't know what it is.
Okay.
My
I mean,
son's on
I'll
I gotta go back to my notes, 'cause I know Ben and I looked at it and we did a little bit of research,
think that's
but I
what-
think it was like 75 or 50 or something like that. It wasn't too much, I don't think so. But we're also missing the more overtime hours that they requested on the budget as well too.
right.
So we're requesting on-call, overtime budget, and what was the other thing?
stipend.
Stipend.
That's correct.
I mean, to incorporate the stipends that
Right.
we know about.
Right. But I want,
Well, and I do want to say that, regardless, overall, as we were looking through our budget and going through the work session, you see that even, and I don't have it up anymore, but if you look at even with us moving funds and forecasting, with us moving money from the general fund and putting it into investment accounts, that still left us at almost at the exact same financial standpoint ending as if we weren't doing that. So it leaves us in a good financial stand. So we have, in other words, what I'm getting at is we have money per se. We just need to invest it in our team, and invest it into our community because it needs to go twofold, because it's not just into the people that work for us, it's into the community that's ultimately paying for it at the end of the day. What's the cost benefit?
when is our final budget due?
So it has to be uploaded by the end of this month, right? May 30th, it has to be fully uploaded preliminary. And then that's when, as we finish closing out the year, because I had sent that schedule and I don't have that. Sorry, I didn't include that in this book, but I had that included several times. But it is that July timeframe when we do the final. And the final in that, when we look at that in your book, once we submit the preliminary, so on this sheet here, that on this big sheet, everything that is submitted here is the numbers that are uploaded, specifically because they're based upon the numbers that are in here. But and so preliminary is set here. The only thing that can change once that after the end of this month is this beginning cash balance. This is the only set numbers that can change unless we do a bar once we get it, or adjustments into the new year. But even then, everything's set already. So, correct? So that
With Mayor Pro Tem, I want to see the preliminary numbers when we add those onto there. I mean,
I'm comfortable having them start inputting,
right,
but maybe we can get projections before.
Well, when we think about it in these, the primary adjustments when we look at it is going to be under the general fund for the fire department and the general fund for public works. That's where it's at. So that can stay there as such. Everything else could potentially be reviewed, and you can still ask questions and make adjustments until the end of the month. But what we need is an approval of a preliminary.
We have one meeting before the end of the month, right? Because we have Memorial Day weekend.
And that meeting
So-
is on a Tuesday.
I should say, so she can start putting numbers now. And if we need to adjust it, we can adjust it on that meeting before she hits send.
And that's what I'm requesting. So that way we're
Okay,
not,
I'm down with
so
that.
that way
I'm
we're
good
not
with
waiting until the midnight the night before to
that.
submit
Yes, right. So
everything.
you're gonna give us another,
Yeah, but that's in the next meeting, I'll update this specifically.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion to amend, or
Would be a condition.
conditions for approval of the prelim budget with the conditions that we allocate stipends to the firefighters, overtime for public works, and on-call figures for public works.
second.
Motion on the floor, condition, to review the overtime budgets, the stipends and on-call, by Mayor Pro Tem Johnson Burek, seconded by Trustee Garcia. Any discussion on that? Gloria, if you can roll call vote on the condition, please.
Yes.
Trustee Cadena? Yes. Trustee Nevares?
Yes.
Johnson Burek?
Yes.
Mayor, the roll call is 4 yes.
Thank you very much. For approval on that condition, we'll open it up back again on the approval of the preliminary budget with condition. Is there any further discussion? Original motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Johnson Burek, seconded by Trustee Cadena. And if there's, with condition, if there is no further discussion, Gloria, if you can roll call vote with condition, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson Burek?
Yes.
Trustee Nevares?
Yes.
Trustee Cadena? Yes. Trustee Garcia?
Yes.
Mayor, the roll call is 4 yes.
Great, thank you very much for approval of that preliminary budget with the conditions that have been set. We'll bring the final for approval before you in the next meeting. And then I will note as well as if you have any other, as you go through, because it's a lot of numbers, And I personally love looking at numbers, but if you go through this and you're seeing something that just doesn't drive or you have questions, please make sure to reach out with those questions. That way we can get those answers for you and bring it up. Next item on the agenda is discussion for a university DOT meeting update. I will probably just continually have this as an agenda item no matter what moving forward. So the first, I had a meeting with DOT that I've been trying to schedule with them to have a one-on-one with them. I did invite the trustees to come with that, and I do want to apologize because when I had sent it out, Aaron and I, the district engineer, were going back and forth with several different dates, and I had the incorrect time in my own calendar, and that's the time that I had sent out to the Board of Trustees as a request if you wanted to join that. And then I went back and looked and got in contact with Aaron because he had sent a different time that was an hour earlier. So I double checked with him and he said, no, I said this time. So I immediately started getting in contact with the trustee that said that they wanted to go. And that was my mistake on that. But then Aaron ended up moving the time and keeping the original time that was set. So it got to be a confusing mess and I apologize about that.
My invite got
But
canceled.
what's that?
You canceled my invite.
No. Well, you told me you weren't coming. That's
No, it got canceled. I saw it. I was like, well, it got canceled. I was like, okay.
well, and I was trying to shift everything around and make that happen. But Trustee Cadena did join me at that meeting with them. And so we went through updates. I wanted, we've been having a lot of questions from the community. And I feel like we did get quite a few answers, which is good. So I'll pull up some of this and just to share on these things. But I think that it is important. The first that to share did include it in with you guys is a printout, and it was posted on our website today. It's been sent to the Sun News as well as other news sources to get posted out. DOT is posting it Wednesday, so next Wednesday, May 20th, 5:30, they will have an update meeting at Zia Middle School to give an update on all the projects. I have asked that, you know, some of the residents have specific questions that are concerned and revolve around safety of and numbers specifically that I don't have and necessarily have access to, unless they might have gone through MPO and they might have access to some of those, but they should be numbers that DOT has. But if you have those questions, or if you get those questions that we don't have those answers to, get them over to me or to a member of the team. We'll get that over to Aaron. All of you know Aaron's contact information as well, who Aaron is our district engineer for DOT. You know, get those questions over to him. If you get those questions, that way he can gather that information and have that ready to present at this meeting if it is necessary. So,
Trustee Nevadas and myself do not have Aaron's contact information.
okay, I'll get that out to you and get you his email. You should have it because he's
on MPO.
PO.
Yeah. You already know I'm gonna walk Messiah Park area.
That's fine. I'll walk with you if you want.
I have two residents from Messiah
Print
Park
out,
that,
so.
yeah. Messiah Park, I have two residents in Messiah Park that said that they go walking with me. So we have some plans up to go, but I'll make a bunch of copies.
Well, we'll print out copies here and have them ready. The other,
Messiah Farms.
What's that?
Messiah Farms.
Great. So that's on that side. You know, in questions on this, generalized questions that, you know, that have been coming from residents all the way around is, when was this design approved? How was this design approved? Everything to that, and and where did some of these other things come from? So that's, you know, they sent us information on that. What I did is I have a binder that I printed out all the work sessions, all the planning. There's a timeline that DOT showed that Aaron had ready when we met, that specifically showed where they started the initial planning and the thought. What was it, back in 2016? I don't have it in front of me, but it started there. Then it got preliminary approval. No, sorry, it was before that, because it got preliminary approval by the MPO with a specific section in 2016, and then it went and it got another approval for design in 2019, and that's what basically what you see is there's two packets that are in there. One that was an approval for MPO, one that is an approval for the design itself. But there's multiple meetings that were held, and all in that packet, and all of this is all posted online. As well, it shows the dates of, you know, where there's stakeholder meetings, when the invites were sent out to these stakeholder meetings. In these stakeholder meetings specifically, when and who was in attendance at these stakeholder meetings, and the town did have representation in these stakeholder meetings. Then it went into where following a stakeholder meeting, they did hold a public meeting to give updates and go through that with the notices that were given out with that. All of the people that were in attendance with all of these. This is just one of the many meetings that were held with all of that and throughout that. So those are all printed out and in the binder for you over here. And I will have the binder. I'll put a notification out as well that it is available on the website, and I'll post that again. And then I have the printed out copy here for the public to view if they would like to view that with all of the paperwork. The other questions were, you know, and I guess I misspoke on the last meeting in saying that, you know, me personally, that I will not sign off on anything until the project meets the requirements of what we're looking at, right? And when I say I misspoke, because that was questions that I asked with Trustee Cadena that asked as well, is, you know, when and where were some of these things planned on? Like when, the lighting in specific, right? The lighting has been one of the biggest things that I have been getting calls on from several people throughout the community, up and down the road, not even near that road in where they reside, with concerns about the lighting and just even the lights that we have that are at the intersection and how bright those lights are at the intersection and what we deal with there. And I said that I would not sign off on an agreement to take over that until that point in time. As we were going through this process, and in part of the initial conversation, that conversation initially said, kind of started, well, the lighting is number one, it's in DOT right of way, right? So it's there, and it's our right of way. So then there were other rebuttals and arguments, and well, it can't quite work out that way, because even if it's in your right of way, you still have to conform to our ordinances and what our ordinances state. And then that's when Aaron, shared with me that there were 3 agreements that were already done. This one right here is one of the main ones. So this one right here, and these agreements were previously done, and in here it has, and I printed out these for you to have, trustees, so you have those as copies. Intersection lights, signals, intersection lights, flashings, all of the necessary language. When I flipped to the second page, when he just passed it over to me, I lightly reviewed, and the first thing I saw was roadway lighting, and in that roadway lighting, it says specifically item number 3 here, provide and install approximately 9 165-watt LED luminaires with cutoff fixtures, with those standards between milepost 0 and milepost 106 for fully operational lighting system. And that's where I see that. In that's those 9 street lights that we see going up and down in here. It does have all of the flashing beacons in the lighting. In here are the flashers for the school zones. Those are all where we basically assumed all of these, and in this agreement, it goes through the terms of the agreement, the compliance, severability, everything that's needed for an agreement, and then it does have where the agreement was executed in 2023. Fully in 2023, and that's for all 3 of these agreements. It's a lighting agreement. The other agreement that we have is with the drainage pond maintenance in here, and there was questions that I've been getting lately. Well, the drainage ponds weren't part of the original plan, but the drainage ponds are in the plans, but even more so on the drainage pond agreement. It has pictures and locations of all the ponds and where those are to be maintenance, so on and so forth. There again, with being fully executed by the town in that. And then the third agreement in there is a maintenance agreement for the landscaping and the use of that for maintenance along there, fully executed in that. And so we do have those agreements as they are noted, and they are executed. They did go through the town's process for approval of agreements in there. I did speak with our attorney about this, and I mean, we're kind of binded with it right now. But the good thing that I will note is that DOT and members of the DOT are very receptive to helping make it right for the community, right? So the lighting in particular, right now, they're evaluating and looking at how they can put shields on there. Because one of my biggest things that I was explaining to them through the meeting is the lighting, because they kept saying safety, safety, safety. And as we were talking, which, okay, I can agree with safety, but there's so much light trespass that would come off of those lights, because we get that with the lights that are at the intersection here at University at Avenida right now. But with those, there needs to be shields that are on there so that it stays within its confined area within the right of way on the road and doesn't trespass into other people's property, because that's where we have potential issues. So that's one way that they're working with us. If you've driven down there within the past 2 days, you'll notice that the fence is now down at the acequia, and that they'll be putting the pipe fence in, like they have, or like we have at all of our other acequias. So it'll match in consistency with that. There's other elements that they've added in that came from our last community meeting that we had with DOT for updates. There was community concerns about the safety at the intersections where, Old Farm Road and Sanford in particular come out, and, there's the potential of people to run a stop sign and they end up in someone's backyard. So that if you drive down there now, you'll see safety bollards that have been put up. They're bright yellow bollards that are in front of those specific residences to ensure the safety of those areas in the event that something like that happens. So they're working with us tremendously. So that's why I encourage members of the board and as well as the public that if you have concerns with flaws overall, to make sure to bring those forward, to bring it to us, bring it to, be in these meetings and definitely participate, because DOT is working and trying to, as best as they can, within the bounds of what they have and the agreements that have already been executed. So that's kind of where we're at with those meetings and the takeaways on all of that. Trustee.
I have a question on the agreements, because the one that comes up with me most of the time is the light. Because I had actually been quoting when you said you wouldn't sign off, that was my response. But now that's not going to happen. I mean,
And that was my anticipation, because I fully thought that we would be looking at an agreement that is finalizing after the punch is done, that we would have an agreement that says, okay, now town, you now assume the lighting, you assume the maintenance, you assume, but also when we think of it from a planning perspective, and in any of the projects that we've done in the past, you want to ensure that you have that taken care of ahead of time before you actually put a shovel in the ground, because maintenance is, at the end of the day, is right. So I mean, the process in which the time frame for this is the right time frame. It's just that there was some things that were just overlooked unintentionally.
Given that, is it appropriate to share this with individuals?
It's public information.
Okay.
It's on the website and it's in the bind.
All right. Yeah, because this will show that this agreement, I guess, even before you became mayor, it was already signed. So.
Correct. Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. Oh, the other thing that's come up recently is the chain link over by the Fabian Garcia site over on the east side, close to the railroad tracks. There's those large chain link.
Right.
And
That's
so,
that's outside of Mesilla bounds, so that's city of Las Cruces.
that's Las Cruces. Okay.
Bowman.
All right.
And I think that if I recall correctly, I do believe that there was fencing, chain link fencing that was there before.
There was.
If I recall correctly. But that's our bound starts basically on Bowman and Stamford, that corner right there on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any questions or anything else on that? So if you're available on next Wednesday, please plan on coming to the meeting, because the updates are great on all that side. So, yes. Next item on the agenda, item 9 for discussion, the Black Shops ad hoc committee and restoration on that. So with that, we do want to start getting underway in planning of the blacksmith shop and getting, since it is a newly acquired property. And so per the previous owners, and also how it's noted in the property deed, because of the donation, that the main things there that they wanted to have focused on was to secure and revitalize the structure, and then to determine the use of the structure itself, preferably having it as a museum or a history space, One of the stipulations that they did say is that it cannot be rented out for business purposes. So it cannot be a shop, basically. They did want to have green space on the property, and they did want to have parking on the property. They also suggested to have a working committee to work on this, so an ad hoc committee to be created. And I want to note that it is not, well, and I'll take direction from the board as well is on that, is that it's an ad hoc committee. It's not an actual board, so it's not one that we would necessarily post to do interviews or do things like that, unless that's the direction that you all want to take this. We do have in clear communication on the board or on this committee specifically. It's a recommendation committee per se. And as of right now, I have one elected individual or one trustee who's interested on being on the board, one town employee, and then 2 residents who have expressed interest on being on this committee. But we can have any number. It is an ad hoc committee per se, so there can be any number of people that are involved in this. But we do need to maintain in those meetings, maintain decorum at some point. So there would still be a committee chair that would chair the meetings and do that side there.
You were the one.
Yeah, who was the trustee that wanted to be in the committee?
You.
Okay, I told Jerry, I'm sorry, trustee Navares, because he has like 1,001 ideas and it was blowing my brain. So I just told him I would pass it to him.
Which I mean, yeah, I was gonna say there can be 2 of you on it.
Well,
Yeah.
That's just,
I mean, it's something of interest to me.
Right, it was, yeah. For both of us, and then we had.
it just would not be able to be another one,
Right, correct. I
right?
just think too many people, they're gonna have,
And that's why I think that
we need to put a limit to it.
Yeah.
How many people in it?
so you do 2. So 2 elected, 1 town employee, and then the 2 residents that have interest. Is that reasonable?
What about the P and Z? Not,
I mean, that would be,
but I'm just saying.
I would have to ask the P&Z. I think that would be good.
I do too. I just think it would be more comprehensive that way. And then they can bring things to, or, but, you know,
And that's why I wanted to open this discussion, because I don't think it's one of those positions that we need to, because it's an ad hoc committee. It's not a board, like I mentioned. So we don't need to do postings, do interviews, it's just let the ideas flow, however they may be, come to a consensus, and then bring that to to the Planning and Zoning Commission for the approval and through that process. Or if it's a funding request in specific, like grant funding to go after, then bring that to the Board of Trustees that way, and give direction or through staff, give direction so we can go after said grant funding. And then we do have that in if you noticed in the book, I did include phases for just long range anticipation for in our ICIP.
yes, I see.
So, and because I think that's important that we think about phase projects throughout, however they may be. So planning and zoning representation,
And so, I mean, I think it's good to have an odd number. I mean, it's strange to me, but I mean, like,
No, I totally agree with you. Odd number.
Odd number.
Odd number.
just in case.
It's for, if
No, I totally agree with you. Odd number as well.
that leaves 6.
A town employee, so we need 3 residents.
Can you tell us who the residents are?
Nora is one, and then Michael Langford is another.
Interesting.
And Michael Langford is the gentleman that's been coming that lives directly across from the blacksmith shop.
Or we just have 1 trustee and leaves 5.
However, Whitaker.
We can do one trustee, and trustee Navas will love to do it. Yeah, I can back off and let trustee Navas take over. No, I told you I was doing that.
And I would recommend that the elected is the chair for the committee as well.
Okay. So thank you.
Anytime trustee Navas is here, I got you. You got this.
The quorum can be maintained.
So
We would be looking at one representative from planning and zoning would be the.
If they can, and then if not, then we go back to 2 trustees.
Someone alternate.
Okay. I mean, that's.
We'll just put it at that.
It's an ad hoc though, you know, so it's for, yeah, conceptual planning, okay. Okay. The one question, and it can become an action item in a future meeting, is that, you know, we know that the building itself it needs to be shored, and because of the roof and the stability of that back wall, I have had some members of the Cadencia group here that have said that they would volunteer to just shore up and ensure that back wall is stable, as well as the roof. And I will bring it to the board if you want to vote on as such, just so that there's the clear on that. And that, because I'm not committing anything on that. So
We should
even
definitely do that.
though it's needed,
I mean, I just got repairs done on my Adobe, so the sooner the better.
right.
It'll be cheaper.
So unless
And
I
more-
have
and more-
direction from you all otherwise to get it done, because especially because they're volunteering their time and equity into it. But otherwise I'll bring it to the next meeting for
Bring it to the next meeting.
Yeah.
Bring it to the next meeting.
So I will have that on the next meeting as well.
Yeah, and it minimizes any
The
It's good.
nitty gritty.
But
our house is falling apart.
Okay.
Big time.
Great. Any other discussion on the blacksmith property?
no,
What's up?
I don't.
Any more discussion?
Oh, not that signature, but trustee go ahead.
Well, it'll be great. I mean, it's a great space. It'll.
I mean, and I do have ideas. I've already shared ideas, and so
Yeah. It's gonna be so much potential.
Yeah, it's.
All right. If there's no other discussion, we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is public input, where the public is invited with any other input you may have. If you please step to the podium and state your name for the record.
Good evening, Mayor, trustees. Okay, that's it. Okay. My name is Gary Tyndall, Discount Fireworks. I am one of 2 vendors, retail vendors in the town of Mesilla. I recently received a certified letter in the mail that a certain fee was due for fireworks vendors. I previously had interaction last year on July 4th and New Year's, and subsequently applied and received my new license with nothing being mentioned with all that interaction, 4th of July and New Year's. and applying and receiving this license, there was nothing mentioned as far as a fireworks hazardous material fee. We are a temporary vendor. We sell for 14 days during the 4th of July and a few days in December. And again, this is a hazardous material fee. And obviously, us selling for 14 days and subsequently a few in December, seems like the material hazard risk would be relatively limited since we are temporary and only selling for those days. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was originally proposed in the amendment or ordinance that there was going to be an incremental type fee that was going to be done. In reading my certified letter, it does not state such. And even if we were at previous meetings and, oh, I'm sorry.
We typically allot a 3-minute time frame for public comment, but
Yes, sir, I'll speed it up.
no, you're good.
My apologies. I'm sorry. Even if there was discussion between Fire Marshal and I, and I know I did have discussion with him in the hallway, not in chambers, but discussion as to, gosh dang it, those permits and this and that. How can we implement something that a fee or something? And I do recollect that. But even if we were at a previous meeting, there still had to been some kind of a work session after that, along with the adoption of this, that we were not aware of. What we would ask is for maybe discussion to amend the ordinance to more equitably apply the $9,000 annual fee, such as 12-month increments. You use it for a few days in June, and obviously 9,000 broken up into 12 months is $750. If you use it for a few days in June, $750. If you use it for a few days in July, $750. Or a few days in December, if you will, $750. Understanding. But again, outside those 14 days, it seems to apply a fee that is more, not suitable, but is more adapted to a permanent structure. And I will say that there are 2 vendors in the town of Mesilla, and both vendors are present. There's Mr. Jimmy Navarez. And I would ask that there be maybe some kind of discussion, or ask, if you would please maybe consider, again, a more equitable approach as far as the fee structure goes to the fireworks hazardous material fee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tyndall. So just for clarification on that there won't be a response from the board. It's just strictly public comment for you to.
Correct.
Give your comment.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Any further public comment?
Mayor, trustees, how are you? Excuse me, I was here at most of the meetings. I usually don't miss them. I know Mr. Tyndall missed the very last meeting, but he was here during the workshops and all the other meetings. The big thing would be even at $750 a month, that wouldn't be a typical fee for a temporary location. You know, even when we first started years ago in temporary, the fees were at least $3,500 for one selling period. And the misconception that a permanent building makes more money, it does during the season, but we also have more expenses. We literally do not make any money 10 months out of the year, but we employ our people so they're full-time employed. So we keep the store open, so we promote tourism as well. So the rest of the year for us is not actually profit, it's actually a big loss. But like I said, we're happy to do that to promote the tourism side of the business. We'll also be adding a few more things like maybe chili roasting this year for the season and then jerky sales. So we hope to promote some more tourism and get some other things for the city. But I did want to mention that to not let you think that the whole year we're making profit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nevadas. Any other public comment? Seeing as there is no public comment, we'll move on to our next agenda item, which we'll just combine the two if you all are okay with that. Committee reports and trustee comments. Because we always seem like we do separate and then go back and forth, right? So with that, I'll change that moving forward on that, if you all are okay with that. Trustee Nevadas.
This week on Wednesday, we have the Taylor Site Advisory Board meeting. I plan to attend that. And also I plan to attend the Thursday session on the preservation training as well this week. So as far as comments are concerned, I thought the Cinco de Mayo fiesta went very well. It was well attended. The foam activity really, the kids enjoyed that quite a bit, is my observation. But I did get comments about the brickwork around the two trees on the south side, and the possibilities of kind of correcting it, smoothing it out, or somehow, because people attending these fiestas, I mean, even walking there without a fiesta, there's a safety issue, and so. I told them I would bring this up regarding those two areas around the two pine trees. So, thank you.
Trustee Garcia.
Committee reports. Wednesday, we have a meeting with MPO at 1:00 at the county building. I went to Santa Fe last week. I went to Santa Fe for the New Mexico League of the newly elected officials. I learned a lot. I mean, a lot of things have not changed since I've been gone. I met a small town Bradley. No offense to anybody, but the fire chief there he's the fire chief. He's their councilman. He's their guy for active shooter. I was like, man, you guys are busy. But they're the cutest little old people in the world. I mean, they're just so adorable. They're so cute. But it's a complete 100% volunteer. And I text Chief to see if he was like, hey, did you get the stipend? I said, oh, let me text Greg. So, I text Greg, and he was like, okay, well, if I find any more, I'll let you know. I said, all right, cool. They're very, really well. But it was nice. And then I told him I would attend another couple of meetings. Trustee comments. I did not attend the Cinco de Mayo for personal reasons. And my other trustee comments is, can I say it? I'm going to say it. You can tell me to stop, Mayor. I did read the whole thing on I was kind of concerned about it because I had some phone calls about it, but you guys did everything by the book. And I'm really glad that there's no more paper on the firework, that every time you buy a firework, they have to fill out a paper, because that holds up the line for them. And my husband is king of fireworks, and I hate to hold up the line on it. And I'm so glad you guys got rid of it. And I'm so glad that you guys worked with them and came up with the dollar amount, and you guys stuck with it. And it was transparent all the way. All the way. So I'm really glad to see that on your guys' half on it. So it was 110% transparent. And it's nice. Now they can get business in and out, in and out, in and out on those days. So thank you for doing that. That's all.
Thank you, Trustee. Trustee Cadena.
I will be attending the J. Paul Taylor meeting also. Those are always interesting, and I volunteer at the store too. And it's, I mean, they've just ranted and raved about how good the historic site is doing, and how many visitors they've had, and so forth. And I mean, we need to really, I mean, promote them. They promote us. Everybody that goes in there is eating here and shopping here and those kinds of things. So it's been a really, really good partnership, and it can only get bigger and better. I also attended remotely, even though it's just down the street, the transit board meeting. There's just a lot of things going on with the busing around the area, the Roadrunner and this doesn't include the Roadrunner bus, but it includes the whole county, and they're extending it. They're really making considerations from here to Sunland Park, from here to the new Jupiter project, and so on and so forth. So they're just really considering everything. They're using electric buses. I mean, it's a really good situation for us to be in, and for us to be involved in that and the decision-making processes for that. I also attended the fiesta, and we had a blast. I brought my grandbabies, and they had a blast, and they've made like 3, and we just keep making little places, adobes. And the foam was a big success. They were soaking wet, and I had to carry them out and so on. But it looked like everybody was having a good time, and so I'm very, very, very grateful for the staff. I also want to say this preliminary budget. Thank you, Gloria, for working on it so hard. I mean, sometimes finance is the last people that get recognized because everybody else has action items, and she's just paying the bills and paying the people. So Gloria, thank you to you and Ashley and Brianna, because I know how hard you're working to get all this paper done. I mean, all the bills paid. So I appreciate that very much. That's it, Mayor.
Trustee. Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, so I was able to meet with Lorenzo before I had to leave town, and then before he went out on leave. So we discussed the budget and things going on in Public Works. Like Trustee Garcia mentioned, we do have ACO this Wednesday at 1 p.m. at County Building. And finally, yes, the plaza was packed. Yes, so that's all.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Just remember that we'll be having road discussions coming up soon with the plaza being packed, as we were saying. So I just want to start off by saying thank you to the board as well as our community with your patience over the past couple of weeks, because we did have meetings scheduled, we did have meetings postponed, we did have meetings canceled. There was a lot, and a lot of that had to do with meetings that I had going on and other events going on. And then one of the meetings I just scheduled, I'll be honest, I scheduled completely, and it was my daughter's birthday. So and she's like, "What are we doing?" And I'm going, "Oh, that's right. It is that day." Because you just get in the motion of go, go, go. But I apologize about that, and I appreciate you all on that, on your patience and your consideration all the way around for everybody, because we do this as a team. Things that I do have here, Cinco de Mayo was a great time. A lot of people, the team did an absolutely amazing job, from Dorothy getting everything planned and getting it going, and trying to be a little bit creative, like with the foam, doing the jumping balloon, having free events for the kids and for the entire family. Our public works team out there constantly, all day, every day, ensuring that everything was kept neat, tidy, taped down, safe. We did have it's natural. We have accidents that do occur, and that's where public safety comes in and stepped in to save the day. So everybody played their role and their part. Eddie was out there, Liana was out there. The entire team played their role and did good stuff. So thank you for that to everybody there. And if you weren't able to attend, please make sure that you're putting 16 in your calendar already, because we do plan on doing a little bit extra and a little bit different, because I challenged Dorothy in specific to think about the 16 and all of our town events and creating them to where they're family-friendly events that we still focus on the cultural integrity and the history of what we have. But let's make sure that, I take my kids out there and to these events, and they love to be there for a couple of hours, but there's only so many mariachis and ballet folklorico that they can hear. They want to see something different, so that's where we're going to be doing the traditions and keeping those traditions alive. But in between, we might have a trapeze artist or a magician or something else that's in there that's going to kind of incorporate into a little bit more of a family experience, while still celebrating the cultural significance of why we do this. And then, of course, having more of the things like the foam, the bounce houses, and more activities for the kids. The part of getting your hands dirty. I mean, my kids were out there as well doing that. Just like the rest of the team was, and went back twice actually to make several adobes. So it's a good thing, and it's community coming together, which I love. I did have a Galinda meeting with a cohort with all the recipients and updates on projects that they're working on. We did get our budget fully approved for that with some modifications from where we had it originally anticipated for some funding in that. So we will be you'll see some of those requests coming forward with the budget modification. And it's just an internal. It's not that the total amount still stays as the $95,000 that was awarded, but we're making some bars internally on how that $95,000 can be utilized, because it was supposed to be a majority for personnel, but unfortunately, this upcoming year, the DOT did not, or the legislators did not approve the Galinda funding in the overall package. So there's not funding in it for this upcoming year, but they are allowing us to make the modifications so that and bars so that we can buy equipment with that. So we're going to be seeing where our public, for example, where our public works team requested last year that we buy 2 or UTVs to help with everything. We purchased one last year out of the budget. This year, I'll be able to. I included it in that budget for Galinda, so we'll be purchasing another UTV for that purpose. So it's taken care of by a grant. In other words, there's some of those things that'll be happening, which is a great thing. And then we'll be working on some projects that are going to be community based, focusing around cleanups and recycling and a lot of good things that revolve within the Galinda programming. I mentioned the DOT deal earlier, and we'll continue to have these DOT updates and meetings. I did have BPAC and TAC meetings where it's a bicycle pedestrian and committee, as well as the technical assistance committee that are parts of the MPO, where we presented our TPF or Transportation Project Fund applications for McDowell Road and Kayak Alone. The members, as it was mentioned earlier, that we do have NPO. This upcoming NPO meeting will be the presentation of those projects and priority planning by the NPO for which there's three applications, including our 2 that have been submitted. So it'll be prioritizing and doing that side. So it's going to be an interesting one on that meeting, because I chair that meeting, but I also present at that meeting. So here we go. I'll let the fun continue, right? that side. I did have a Colonias meeting where we did the presentation. I went up to Ruidoso for that. for our water tank and fire hydrant projects. The great thing is that our engineer met us up there, and Cynthia, she sat with me as we went through to help answer any technical questions that may have arisen. But our application was strong enough that when it got to the technical questions in there, that there were no technical questions. It was just simple, easy, pretty straightforward, and moving through that process. They will be announcing, and they have an upcoming meeting this coming Thursday, where they will be going through and prioritizing and announcing who's getting what awards throughout that for that funding. So we should know by the end of the week if we are getting funded for these projects through Colonias Infrastructure Board. Going through with budget meetings for the Municipal League and getting the budget set for the Municipal League, since I sit on that board as a director, meetings with the school district for SRO, and things to that extent. While I'm talking about the schools, that's the one thing that I will say is that I did, not only because I have kids that go to our schools here, both at Mesilla Elementary, but also at Zia Middle School, but they do some amazing programming one way or the other that is open to the community to join. And I'll figure out with the administrators on getting that word out, because for example, I went to before I had to go to the TAC meeting, I went to the performing arts presentation at the elementary, and they did a presentation of music through the ages, starting from the 60s going up until the current time, and seeing kids singing and dancing. Even so, some were singing, some were lip syncing, but dressed in costume. Like there were Beatles, there were Justin Bieber. It was crazy because Justin Bieber was on stage singing and then goes running around the stage, and they timed it perfect so that the girls were sitting on one side because they were doing tumbling, and they start screaming, doing their little, it was fun just to watch it at any rate. But those events like that are open to the community. There's several events that are going on at Zia Middle School as well, with the music performances and the after school programs that they have going on there. And from an elected side, I like to get involved in those things, not only because I have kids that are in those things, but it will always continue because that's our future generation. And it's just amazing to see the heart that they put into some of those things. As it was mentioned earlier, we have historic preservation training this coming Thursday as well. And then historic preservation week that's planned by our team and putting that on, which is amazing. And we'll get that out there even more. This coming Thursday also, if anybody is free or wants to participate on the Mesilla Valley Garden Club, we'll be meeting at here at Veterans Park at 9 a.m. and they will be planting some red, white, and blue flowers for a national thing that they're working on to gain recognition for the celebrations for the, oh my gosh, is it quincentennial? I think because it's the 250th celebration, right, coming up. So we have, so they're trying to do a nationwide deal so that the Mesilla Valley Garden Club recognize the town as one of 3 locations within the Mesilla Valley as having a potential for doing a red, white, and blue display. So they'll be putting that in. Our team will be helping with the installation. I'll be out there, and if anybody else wants to join, you're more than welcome to. We are also probably going to have some other, because we have Clean and Beautiful money left for plants. So we'll buy more plants and plant some more plants in and around Veterans Park while we're there and get that jazzed up a little.
When did you say that was?
It's this coming Thursday at 9 a.m. So it's like Thursdays, if you've noticed, it's like Wednesdays and Thursdays are crazy busy days. And so the garden club just told me this last week. So that's why I didn't get it out to you all sooner. And I apologize about that. But if you're free, but there'll be plenty more times because they love collaborating with us, especially now that we have the community garden going. It's a kind of a fun thing to see people out in there. When this coming Wednesday is also the setup here in our lobby for voting, which will start on Saturday. So the town does become a voting site this coming Saturday. In that, I sent out an email with the Casa de Peregrinos pantry setups where they'll be doing 100 meals to our community as part of the agreement that we have with them. The first one is scheduled for Wednesday, June 17th. If there is anybody that would like to help hand out meals on that Wednesday, please plan on being in attendance for that. And that is at 3 p.m. For those meal handouts. June 17th, July 15th, August 19th, and September 16th at 3 p.m. at the community center or the park across from the community center is where they're planning on handing out those meals. So just so everybody has those on their calendar.
Can you put it on the water bill?
What's that?
Can you put that on their water bill?
I sure can. Most definitely.
Thank you.
We'll get that added in on there. And let's see. Just a reminder that the next BOT meeting is on Tuesday rather than a Monday due to the holiday that's on Monday. There was a question on the retention schedule. I did include a copy of that printed out for you. That was adopted in 2018. We're just following the municipal league's retention schedule as that was there. If you have questions or anything, just let us know. And then there was one more thing and it just fleeted my mind. I think that's it. I'll leave it at that. If there is no further discussion or objection, the time is now 8:31, and I will call this meeting as adjourned. Thank you very much.